Beneath the rolling surface of tropical seas lies a world built not by hands or machines, but by the quiet labor of countless, fragile creatures. Here, light fractures into ribbons that dance through crystal water, descending into a metropolis of living stone. Every column, arch and courtyard in this underwater city has been raised by animals no larger than a pinhead. These are the coral polyps, ancient architects whose slow, patient construction has outlasted civilizations. Their world hums with the rhythm of biological design, each structure a union of life and death, chemistry and sunlight, precision and time. A coral reef begins invisibly, with a single drifting lava searching for a place to settle. It lands upon the skeleton of a predecessor, a calcium carbonate foundation left behind by those that came before. This is how coral builds, layer upon layer of legacy. The living sit upon the bones of the dead, fusing the past into the future. As the tiny polyp attaches itself to the surface, it secretes limestone from its soft body, encasing itself in armor. This is its home, its factory, and its contribution to the greater architecture of the reef. Once anchored, it divides and multiplies, forming colonies that stretch into sheets and mounds, branching towers and delicate lattices. Each polyp connects through a thin layer of tissue, passing nutrients and information like a nervous system stretched across stone. What emerges is not merely a collection of individuals, it is a superorganism, a city where every inhabitant plays a role in construction and survival. At the heart of this creation lies an invisible partnership. Inside each coral cell lives a microscopic alga known as zooxanthellae. These single-celled symbionts are the reef's solar engineers. They capture sunlight and carbon dioxide, producing sugars that feed their coral hosts. In return, the coral provides them with shelter and the nutrients they need. This alliance between animal and plant-like life is what powers the reef's explosive productivity. In nutrient-poor tropical waters, where survival should be scarce, this partnership creates abundance. It turns the barren desert of the sea into a thriving metropolis, sustaining a quarter of all marine species, despite occupying less than 1% of the ocean floor. The coral-algae bond is one of the most successful real estate partnerships in evolutionary history. Zooming in closer, the reef's architecture reveals astonishing variety. Some corals, known as branching corals, grow like trees, their fingers reaching upward toward the light. Others form massive boulder shapes, slow-growing but nearly indestructible. Plate corals overlap like shelves, catching sunlight in deeper waters, while encrusting corals creep along surfaces like living cement, binding the city together. This diversity is not decorative. Its structural engineering evolved over millions of years. Each shape optimizes the flow of light, water, and nutrients in its specific environment. In shallow lagoons, battered by waves, compact mounds resist the surge. In calm channels, delicate fans stretch wide to capture drifting plankton. Even death contributes to design. When a coral dies, its skeleton remains, becoming the scaffold upon which new life builds. This endless construction has a rhythm tied to the tides, the moon, and the stars. Once a year, under the perfect alignment of lunar light and temperature, corals across entire oceans synchronize a mass spawning event. In a spectacle that defies logic, countless colonies release their gametes simultaneously, pink and white clouds rising through the dark sea like an inverted snowfall. Each tiny egg and sperm drifts upward, meeting in the open water to form larvae that will begin the next generation of builders. It's a planetary-scale blueprint, a reminder that even creatures without brains or eyes can follow cosmic instructions written in their DNA. The reef's architecture serves far more than beauty. Every ridge and crevice becomes real estate for other life. Small fish weave through coral branches, finding refuge from predators. Crustaceans burrow into coral heads, scavenging leftovers and cleaning parasites. Sea cucumbers process waste at the base, recycling nutrients into usable form. Even predators rely on coral architecture. Moray eels hide in tunnels to ambush prey, while octopuses use coral rubble to fortify their dens. The reef is not just a home, it is a circulatory system, a breathing organism where energy, matter, and motion are constantly recycled through form. But even perfection is fragile. When ocean temperatures rise beyond tolerance, the coral's symbiotic algae become toxic, producing free radicals instead of nourishment. The coral expels them in a desperate act of survival, losing its color in the process. What remains is a ghostly white skeleton, a phenomenon known as coral bleaching. Without its algae, the coral starves. Some recover when conditions stabilize, but many perish, leaving behind empty ruins. In just a few decades, entire reefs can shift from vibrant metropolises to lifeless wastelands. Yet even here, the reef shows resilience. Fragments broken by storms or anchor chains can regrow if they settle in the right spot, continuing the slow work of reconstruction. Death in this world is never final. It's a transfer of building materials to the next generation of architects. On a geological timescale, coral reefs have transformed continents and coastlines. The Great Barrier Reef in Australia stretches for over 2,000 kilometers, a structure visible from space, built by billions of tiny polyps over 500,000 years. Ancient reefs, now lifted by tectonic shifts, form limestone mountains on land. Entire islands in the Pacific rest upon the remains of coral cities that once thrived below the waves. Even human civilization owes its shorelines to coral's legacy. Many beaches are nothing more than powdered coral and shells ground over millennia by parrotfish and waves. The very sand beneath our feet is the dust of ancient architecture. In ecological terms, coral reefs function as the ocean's kidneys and nurseries. Their porous surfaces filter water, trapping sediments and pollutants. They break the force of waves, protecting coastlines from erosion. And within their sheltering maze, juvenile fish find safety to grow before venturing into open seas. Every coral head is a fortress, a marketplace, a feeding ground, and a breeding haven. Without these structures, the ocean's productivity would collapse in a cascade, from plankton to predator. What makes coral truly remarkable is not just its beauty or biodiversity, but its role as an engineer of time. Each layer of limestone records years of change, water temperature, chemistry, even volcanic ash, like a living archive of the planet's climate. Scientists read these layers to reconstruct histories that predate humanity. Coral doesn't just build life, it records it, encoding the story of Earth in stone. The modern era, however, challenges this ancient builder. Rising temperatures, ocean acidification, and pollution all erode coral's ability to lay down its calcium foundation. Acidic water dissolves limestone faster than polyps can produce it, threatening the very physics of their construction. Yet around the world, coral fragments are being cultivated by human hands. Marine biologists transplant nursery-grown corals back into damaged reefs, using innovative techniques that mimic natural attachment processes. Some even experiment with heat-resistant strains, hoping evolution can be guided to keep pace with climate change. The partnership between human and coral may become the next phase of marine architecture, a collaboration to preserve the blueprint of life beneath the sea. To drift over a healthy reef is to float above civilization itself. Streets of coral rise beneath the current, each polyp glowing faintly in the filtered light. Fish dart through arches of bone-white stone turned to color by symbiosis. The water hums with movement, each ripple refracted off surfaces alive with purpose. Here, time slows to the pace of construction measured in centuries. It is a reminder that life at its grandest scale is built from patience and cooperation. Every skyscraper on land echoes an idea perfected underwater, the merging of function, form, and endurance. The coral reef is the ocean's cathedral, its walls raised by the smallest of hands. It is proof that intelligence need not wear a brain, and that architecture can grow, breathe, and heal. In these living skyscrapers, sunlight becomes stone, death becomes foundation, and time becomes art. And even as the world changes, the reef endures, its builders working tirelessly, one microscopic brick at a time to keep the sea alive. At first glance, the sea anemone seems motionless, a delicate bloom swaying lazily in the tide, its tentacles rippling like petals in an unseen breeze. But beneath this illusion of passivity lies one of the most complex pieces of biological engineering in the ocean. The sea anemone is not a plant. It is a carnivorous architect, part predator, part protector, and part living foundation for a miniature ecosystem. Anchored to rock, coral, or shell, it constructs a fortress of flesh and venom that shelters both itself and a carefully selected cast of allies. Its tentacles may appear graceful, but each is armed with thousands of microscopic harpoons, primed to fire at the faintest touch. This is a creature that builds through chemistry, patience, and precision. Viewed from a diver's perspective, the anemone's world feels like the ocean distilled to its essence, color, movement, and balance held in perfect tension. Its tentacles undulate in the current, forming a pulsing perimeter around its central mouth, which resembles an iris opening to the sea. This structure is not static. The anemone can inflate or deflate at will, regulating the flow of water through its body to maintain internal pressure. It has no skeleton, no shell, and yet it endures storms and currents that would tear other creatures apart. Its strength lies in its ability to yield, a form of biological architecture that flexes with the sea rather than fighting it. By absorbing the motion of the water, it turns chaos into stability. Its body is a living damper, a structure designed by evolution to persist through constant motion. Every anemone is also a master of territory. It does not wander, it claims. Using a sticky base called a pedal disc, it adheres to hard surfaces, coral heads, rocks, even discarded shells. Some species form dense colonies that carpet entire sections of reef, while others remain solitary, defending a single patch with relentless aggression. When two anemones meet, they do not merely drift apart. They engage in slow-motion combat, pressing specialized stinging tentacles called acrohagi against each other's tissue until one retreats or dies. These battles can last for days, fought at the speed of living tissue, each sting leaving scars that mark the boundaries of invisible kingdoms. In these struggles, evolution has shaped the reef into a mosaic of territories, each ruled by an individual that appears peaceful but commands lethal force. Yet even amid this quiet violence, the anemone's true genius lies in cooperation. Few marine species embody symbiosis as elegantly as the partnership between sea anemones and clownfish. This relationship has become iconic, immortalized in popular culture, yet beneath the familiarity lies an astonishing tale of chemical negotiation and behavioral adaptation. To most fish, an anemone's tentacles are instant death. Each harpoon or nematocyst fires with explosive speed when triggered, injecting venom that paralyzes small prey. But clownfish are immune. Their skin is coated with a unique mucus layer that prevents the anemone from recognizing them as intruders. The process is not automatic. A clownfish must gradually acclimate itself by brushing against the tentacles over hours or even days, building up a mutual tolerance. Once accepted, it moves freely among the stinging arms, safe from predators that dare not approach. In return for sanctuary, the clownfish becomes caretaker and provider. Its movements fan the anemone, circulating oxygen and removing debris. It hunts small crustaceans and brings leftovers back to its host. Even its waste serves a purpose: nitrogen-rich excrement that fertilizes the anemone's symbiotic algae. The relationship is so tightly woven that each partner influences the other's growth and reproductive success. Studies have shown that anemones housing clownfish grow significantly faster, their tentacles thicker and healthier due to increased nutrient availability. This is no one-sided arrangement. It is an ecosystem of two species evolving together, refining their partnership through mutual benefit rather than dominance. But the clownfish is not the anemone's only tenant. Tiny shrimp and crabs also find refuge within its tentacles, immune or resistant to its sting through biochemical mimicry. Some species even act as cleaners, removing parasites from the anemone's body in exchange for protection. This multi-tiered community transforms the anemone into a living apartment complex, each resident contributing to the structure's maintenance. The anemone becomes both landlord and fortress, governing through chemistry and behavior rather than force. Beneath the tentacles, hidden from the diver's view, the anemone's internal architecture is equally intricate. Its central cavity functions as both stomach and skeleton, a fluid-filled chamber that provides rigidity through hydrostatic pressure. Muscular walls contract rhythmically, moving water in and out to maintain shape and aid digestion. Food, a passing shrimp, a stray fish, is captured by the tentacles and drawn into the central mouth, where digestive enzymes dissolve it into nutrient-rich slurry. These nutrients not only feed the anemone, but also nourish the microscopic algae living within its tissues, similar to the coral-algae partnership. The algae photosynthesize, producing sugars and oxygen in exchange for carbon dioxide and waste products, an elegant cycle of energy that links predator and plant-like symbiont in a closed ecological loop. This dual existence, both hunter and farmer, allows the anemone to survive in conditions where either lifestyle alone would fail. In nutrient-poor tropical waters, photosynthesis supplements what the tentacles capture. In darker, colder regions where light fades, predation takes over. Some deep-sea anemones live entirely without sunlight, hosting chemosynthetic bacteria instead of algae. These bacteria convert chemical energy from volcanic vents into food, turning what would be barren wasteland into a thriving habitat. Whether on coral reef, kelp forest, or abyssal plain, the anemone's architecture adapts seamlessly to its environment, proving that design in nature is not static. It evolves with circumstance. Anemones also play a quiet but critical role in shaping reef dynamics. Their presence deters grazing fish and invasive species, preserving microhabitats for coral larvae and sponges. When storms tear apart coral colonies, anemones often occupy the vacant real estate, stabilizing rubble with their adhesive bases. Over time, their growth binds loose debris into firm substrate, paving the way for coral to recolonize. In this way, the anemone acts as an ecological placeholder, a temporary architect that maintains structural integrity during the reef's recovery phase. Without such stabilizers, entire sections of reef could collapse under the relentless energy of waves. The anemone's influence extends beyond structure into the invisible realm of chemistry. Its venom, a complex cocktail of proteins and peptides, is among the most sophisticated biochemical weapons in the animal kingdom. Some components paralyze prey by blocking nerve signals, others destroy cell membranes outright. Yet this same venom, when studied by scientists, offers potential breakthroughs in pain management and neurology. In the laboratory, compounds derived from anemone toxins are being investigated as treatments for autoimmune diseases and heart disorders. The same chemistry that builds a fortress under the sea may one day rebuild the human body, a testament to the evolutionary genius hidden within these simple forms. Despite their resilience, sea anemones face growing pressure from environmental change. Rising temperatures can disrupt their delicate symbiosis with algae, leading to bleaching similar to that seen in corals. Pollution and sedimentation smother them, while destructive fishing practices tear them from their anchorage. Yet, much like coral, they show remarkable adaptability. Some species have shifted to deeper, cooler waters. Others form partnerships with different algae strains more tolerant of heat. The blueprint of the anemone's survival has always been flexibility, a soft body that endures where hard shells shatter. From a distance, the relationship between anemone and its inhabitants seems idyllic, but beneath the calm surface lies constant negotiation. Clownfish sometimes steal food from their host or compete violently with other tenants. Juveniles must learn the precise boundaries of safety. One wrong movement beyond the tentacle curtain can mean instant death. Even within harmony, there is discipline. The anemone's sting remains the unspoken rule of this community, a reminder that safety is earned, not given freely. Seen as a whole, the sea anemone embodies a principle at the heart of ocean life: stability through interaction. It builds nothing tangible, no reefs or shells, yet it engineers balance in miniature. It cultivates relationships, recycles energy, and transforms predation into partnership. Its fortress is not made of stone, but of biology itself, an adaptable architecture that depends on trust, chemistry, and the constant exchange of life between species. As currents sweep across the reef, the anemone's tentacles reach into the flow, sensing the pulse of the water like antennae reading the ocean's heartbeat. Fish dart in and out of its embrace. Crabs patrol its perimeter. Sunlight flickers over its translucent body, revealing the faint glow of symbiotic algae working within. Everything here is alive with connection. Predator and prey, builder and tenant, structure and symbiont bound in perpetual motion. To watch a sea anemone is to glimpse the quiet intelligence of nature's architecture, where defense becomes design and partnership becomes survival. It is not just a flower of the sea, it is an engineer, a fortress, and a living testament to the ocean's capacity to build with life itself. In the shallows where light ripples over sand like liquid glass, a hidden architect is at work. Its world is narrow and turbulent, a patch of sediment beneath coral heads, constantly reshaped by tides, storms, and the weight of passing creatures. Here, where most animals seek shelter from the chaos, the mantis shrimp builds it. These small but extraordinary crustaceans carve their homes into the seabed, designing intricate tunnel systems that anchor entire ecosystems. Their construction reshapes the landscape grain by grain, and yet the architects themselves are best known not for building, but for their violence. The mantis shrimp is both mason and warrior, an animal that builds peace through controlled destruction. The camera sinks closer to the sand, revealing faint plumes of silt that pulse outward like breath. Within seconds, two eye stalks rise from the entrance of a burrow, scanning the world in a way no other creature can. Each eye is a multi-lensed machine capable of perceiving 12 channels of color, from ultraviolet to polarized light, far beyond human vision. These compound eyes swivel independently, scanning for intruders, prey, or debris. The mantis shrimp's mind decodes this information almost instantaneously, constructing a three-dimensional map of its surroundings, down to the shape of each suspended grain. Its visual system is so advanced that it can detect the flicker of another shrimp's aggression before the motion even begins. For an animal that builds with its claws, precision is survival. The burrow itself is more than a hole in the sand. It is a living structure, constantly maintained, ventilated, and reinforced. The mantis shrimp excavates by striking and scooping with its raptorial appendages, specialized forelimbs evolved into natural jackhammers. Each strike can reach the acceleration of a bullet, generating shockwaves that liquefy sand and dislodge shells or stones. The shrimp sorts this material like an engineer sorting bricks, placing larger fragments around the entrance for stability and smaller grains along the walls to form smooth, compacted tunnels. These tunnels may extend for over a meter, branching into chambers for hunting, breeding, and molting. To the untrained eye, they appear chaotic, but each serves a precise function. Some act as defense corridors, others as sediment filters, and some as escape routes. Even the airflow through these tunnels, or rather the flow of water, is calculated. When the shrimp fans its pleopods near the entrance, it draws oxygenated water into the system and expels waste gases. In a fluid world, this is architecture that breathes. The act of building also sustains the seabed itself. Each time the mantis shrimp clears its burrow, it oxygenates the sediment, allowing bacteria to thrive and recycle nutrients locked within. These bacterial communities break down organic waste, feeding plankton and microalgae. Worms and small crustaceans move into abandoned tunnels, while coral larvae settle along the disturbed edges, using the clean substrate as anchor points. What begins as one animal's home becomes the foundation for many others. The seabed, often thought of as barren, is in reality a city beneath the city, a hidden lattice of tunnels and chambers built by shrimp that most divers never see. The mantis shrimp's world is divided into two great lineages, the spearers and the smashers. Spearers possess spiny, barbed limbs used to impale soft-bodied prey such as fish or worms. Smashers, on the other hand, wield club-like appendages that can shatter shells, coral fragments, and even aquarium glass. It is these smashers that most often serve as the ocean's subterranean engineers. Their strikes are both weapon and tool. When digging, they use controlled blows to loosen compacted sand or break apart coral debris blocking the tunnel entrance. When threatened, those same limbs become weapons capable of killing with concussive force. Few predators dare to challenge them. Even octopuses approach with caution, knowing that a single misjudgment could mean a shattered tentacle. Every strike the mantis shrimp delivers releases more than mechanical force. It releases heat and light. The speed of the impact generates cavitation bubbles, microscopic voids that collapse with such violence they momentarily reach temperatures comparable to the surface of the sun. The implosion produces a flash of light and a secondary shockwave strong enough to stun or kill prey, even if the initial blow misses. It is a phenomenon of physics weaponized by evolution. Yet, despite this raw power, the shrimp's clubs rarely break. They are composed of a unique composite structure, layers of mineralized chitin arranged in a helicoidal pattern that absorbs impact like a spiral spring. Engineers studying this natural armor have replicated its structure to design tougher body armor and aircraft components. In this animal's anatomy lies the blueprint for future human technology, strength born from flexibility, endurance shaped by necessity. While the mantis shrimp's aggression has earned it a fierce reputation, its role as a builder reveals another side. Some species, like the banded peacock mantis shrimp, maintain lifelong partnerships with mates, cohabiting and expanding shared tunnels. The pair alternates between defending the entrance and excavating, sealing the burrow with rubble each night. Inside, they line the walls with mucus secretions to prevent collapse, turning loose sand into a kind of cement. During breeding, the female lays clusters of eggs that she guards within a special chamber. These eggs are aerated by gentle fanning, and when hatched, the larvae swim upward to join the planktonic drift before eventually returning to the seabed to start new burrows. Thus, the architecture of one generation gives rise to the next, ensuring continuity through structure. The tunnels are more than shelters, they are defensive fortresses. When danger approaches, the mantis shrimp retreats deep within, plugging the entrance with stones or coral fragments. This behavior is not random. The shrimp deliberately arranges the pieces in overlapping patterns, creating a barrier that can absorb shockwaves or resist probing predators. In one observed case, a shrimp used the shell of a dead snail as a door, rotating it into position to seal itself inside. Such behaviors demonstrate not instinct alone, but adaptability, an understanding, however subconscious, of the physical properties of the world around it. The shrimp does not simply react, it engineers its environment. Even the act of feeding contributes to construction. When smashing open snails or crabs, fragments scatter and sink around the burrow. Over time, these remnants accumulate, forming an artificial reef of broken shells. Small fish and worms colonize the crevices between fragments, turning the debris field into a secondary habitat. In some regions, researchers have found entire patches of reef built around generations of mantis shrimp dens, miniature ecosystems seeded by destruction. The paradox is striking. An animal known for violence builds stability through the very act of breaking. The mantis shrimp's tunnel also serves as a sensory organ of sorts. By monitoring pressure changes and vibrations through the sand, the shrimp can detect approaching predators or rival shrimp long before they come into view. Specialized hairs along its body register these minute shifts, translating them into directional information. This sensitivity allows the shrimp to respond with uncanny timing, emerging at precisely the right moment to strike or retreat. Its behavior has been compared to that of a submarine sonar operator, one that uses seismic cues instead of sound. In the murky world of the seabed, where sight fades and sound scatters, the shrimp's perception defines the boundaries of its domain. Across the Indo-Pacific and tropical Atlantic, mantis shrimp burrows form part of a vast interconnected network of life-supporting infrastructure. In sandy lagoons, their tunnels stabilize shifting sediment. On coral slopes, they prevent erosion by compacting loose fragments. In mangrove shallows, their activity aerates anaerobic mud, creating microhabitats for oxygen-dependent organisms. Without these engineers, the seabed would be less stable, less fertile, and less capable of supporting the diversity that defines tropical marine ecosystems. The shrimp's aggression may capture headlines, but its construction sustains communities measured in thousands of species. Even the visual brilliance of the mantis shrimp's shell plays a role in its ecological engineering. Many species display iridescent exoskeletons patterned with bands of green, blue, and orange, not for decoration, but for communication. The colors, visible under polarized light, act as warning signals or territorial markers. Neighboring shrimp can interpret these flashes, avoiding unnecessary combat and maintaining spatial organization. In this way, the shrimp's body becomes a visual blueprint of order, regulating population density, much like zoning laws regulate human cities. Its violence, then, is strategic, a controlled expression of defense within an ecosystem built on delicate equilibrium. When the camera pulls back, the scale of the shrimp's influence becomes visible. What seemed like a lifeless patch of sand now reveals hundreds of tiny plumes, entrances to burrows scattered across the seafloor. Each connects to a web of tunnels that crisscross the sediment like veins beneath skin. Together, they form a living architecture, invisible from above, but essential to the health of the ocean. Within these tunnels, the mantis shrimp continues its tireless work, building, repairing, and defending with the precision of an engineer and the ferocity of a warrior. It is easy to mistake aggression for chaos, but in the mantis shrimp's world, every impact is purposeful. Every shockwave that clears sand, every fragment rearranged around a burrow entrance, contributes to the greater structure of the sea. Through its violence, it creates calm. Through its destruction, it builds life. In the end, the mantis shrimp's tunnels are not merely shelters. They are the blueprints of an unseen civilization, one written not in stone or coral, but in motion, chemistry, and light. Beneath the shimmering skin of the ocean, these small architects continue their ancient labor, shaping the seabed into something stable, enduring, and alive. In the dim green light beneath the waves, where the rocky seafloor drops away into fractured ledges and shadowed ravines, a world of silent construction is underway. The architects here are not coral or worms or fish, but armored crustaceans with claws strong enough to split shell and stone. Lobsters, the unseen masons of the coastal seabed, have been sculpting these undersea alleyways for generations. Every crevice widened, every burrow cleared, and every tunnel repurposed adds to a network of life that stretches across entire reef systems. These are the alleys of the ocean, narrow, winding corridors carved and maintained by animals that have evolved not just to survive within them, but to engineer them. A diver descending into this terrain would see little at first beyond the shifting bands of light rippling across the rocks. But peer closer into a crack in the stone, and the scene transforms. Within a crevice no wider than a forearm, a lobster stands motionless, antennae extended, claws half raised. It is the sentinel of its alley, a creature perfectly adapted for both defense and excavation. Its body, encased in a segmented exoskeleton of chitin reinforced with calcium carbonate, is simultaneously armor and architecture. Every joint is flexible yet shielded, allowing it to maneuver through spaces as narrow as its own body width. The claws, asymmetrical in size, serve distinct purposes: the crusher claw for breaking shell or coral, and the cutter claw for slicing and gripping. Evolution has refined these tools over millions of years, transforming lobsters into both predators and builders of their environment. The process of burrow creation begins with selection. Lobsters are deliberate in choosing their homes, favoring sites with stable rock overhangs and soft sediment beneath, a balance between protection and workable material. Using their claws, they remove loose stones and debris, scraping out sediment with rhythmic precision. The movements are almost mechanical: scoop, lift, toss. Over time, the excavation deepens into a tunnel, lined with fragments strategically placed to reinforce the structure. When the tunnel reaches the desired length, often several times the lobster's body length, the entrance is shaped into a narrow funnel. This design allows for quick retreat and easy defense, turning the burrow into both home and fortress. Each den is not a solitary effort, but part of a larger collective landscape. In many regions, particularly along the North Atlantic coast, entire colonies of lobsters occupy interconnected dens in what researchers call lobster neighborhoods. These communal networks are dynamic. Entrances merge and collapse, chambers shift, and new tunnels emerge as generations pass. Old burrows, abandoned by their builders, are quickly taken over by smaller fish, crabs, or octopuses. In this way, the lobster's excavation reshapes the community, creating real estate for dozens of other species. A single stretch of reef may host hundreds of these shelters, all interconnected beneath the surface like an underground city. The ecological role of these structures extends far beyond mere shelter. Lobster burrowing aerates sediment and redistributes organic matter buried deep in the seabed. Each clawful of sand or detritus brought to the surface releases trapped nutrients back into circulation, feeding plankton and algae. These microscopic organisms form the foundation of the food web, meaning that the lobster's digging literally fuels life above. Even the waste left near burrow entrances contributes, decomposing material that fertilizes seagrass and kelp growing nearby. Through such small, continuous acts, lobsters maintain a cycle of renewal that underpins coastal productivity. Life within the alleyways is not without tension. Lobsters are territorial, and each individual defends its burrow fiercely. When intruders approach, the resident raises its claws and extends its antennae in a display of dominance. The confrontation is not silent. Lobsters can produce low-frequency sounds by rubbing ridges beneath their eyes, creating vibrations that travel through the water like a deep hum. These signals serve as warnings, announcing ownership to potential rivals. If deterrence fails, the fight turns physical. Lobsters engage in claw-to-claw combat, grappling until one retreats. The victor often seizes the loser's burrow, a real estate exchange settled through violence. Despite these conflicts, such territorial skirmishes help regulate population density and prevent overcrowding, maintaining balance in the reef's intricate social structure. Inside the burrow, the lobster's behavior reveals a more delicate side. At night, when the water cools and the predators retreat, it ventures out to forage. Moving with deliberate, cautious steps, it uses its antennae as sensory probes, detecting chemical trails in the water that signal prey, mollusks, worms, or decaying fish. Its sense of smell is so acute that it can detect a single drop of blood in millions of liters of seawater. Once prey is located, the lobster lunges forward with astonishing speed for such a heavy creature, crushing shells with a force capable of cracking even hardened clams. After feeding, it drags the remains back to the burrow, consuming what it can and leaving scraps for smaller scavengers. The burrow entrance often becomes a feeding station, attracting crabs, brittle stars, and small fish that pick at leftovers. Thus, the lobster's meal sustains an entire micro-ecosystem, each organism benefiting from the waste of another. Reproduction also unfolds within these stone-walled chambers. Females carry fertilized eggs attached to their swimmerets, specialized appendages under the tail, for months, fanning them constantly to provide oxygen. When the larvae finally hatch, they rise toward the surface, joining the planktonic drift. Only a fraction survive the open ocean, returning to the seabed years later to carve their own burrows. This generational continuity transforms the rocky coastline into a living archive, layer upon layer of tunnels marking centuries of construction and survival. The architecture of the lobster's world also influences larger geological processes. Along continental shelves, the combined activity of millions of burrowers contributes to sediment turnover on a scale measurable by satellite. Their digging stabilizes slopes and prevents erosion, much like roots stabilize soil on land. When researchers map these coastal regions, they often find that areas with dense lobster populations resist collapse and support higher biodiversity. The ocean's crustacean engineers, in their quiet persistence, help sculpt the very shape of the seabed. Lobsters are not limited to temperate reefs. In the tropics, spiny lobsters perform similar roles, though their social structures differ. These long-legged relatives migrate in single-file lines across sandy plains during seasonal shifts, guided by magnetic sensitivity that allows them to navigate vast distances. When they reach rocky shelters, they crowd together in communal dens, forming clusters that can include dozens of individuals. These groups are cooperative in defense, fanning water to circulate oxygen and sharing warning cues when predators such as moray eels approach. Their collective presence transforms the shelter into a stronghold, an adaptive form of social engineering that enhances survival in exposed environments. Even in the deep sea, where light never penetrates, lobsters and their kin continue their subterranean craft. Near hydrothermal vents, deep-sea squat lobsters burrow among mineral chimneys, using their claws to scrape bacteria and detritus for food. Their tunnels become conduits for chemical exchange, channeling nutrients from the vents into surrounding sediments. In these extreme environments, the same principles apply. Structure provides stability, and stability supports life. Yet the lobster's architectural achievements are threatened by forces beyond its control. Overfishing has reduced populations in many regions, disrupting the ecological balance of coastal ecosystems. Without their constant excavation and cleaning, sediments compact, water flow slows, and oxygen levels drop. Coral and algae growth diminishes, leading to cascading effects throughout the food web. In some areas, artificial reefs have been introduced, concrete blocks or stone piles, to mimic the sheltering complexity that lobsters once provided naturally. But even the most carefully designed human structures cannot replicate the subtle dynamics of living architecture, where each burrow breathes, shifts, and grows with its inhabitant. In observing lobsters, it becomes clear that they are both sculptors and subjects of their environment. Their tunnels mirror their own anatomy, narrow, armored, and adaptable. Each generation inherits a landscape subtly altered by the previous one, a biological palimpsest where behavior and geology merge. The alleyways they build are not merely habitats, they are extensions of the lobster's body, physical manifestations of instinct and adaptation woven into the fabric of the sea. As the camera drifts through these rocky corridors, light flickers off shell and claw. Small fish dart between openings, octopuses coil within deeper recesses, and shrimp dance along the entrance edges. The scene is calm, yet alive with purpose. Every movement, every fragment of sediment stirred by a passing lobster contributes to the silent rhythm of construction. In this world without mortar or blueprint, stability arises from repetition, from the slow and patient shaping of stone and sand by creatures that will never see the whole of what they've built. The lobster's alleyways are more than architecture, they are continuity embodied. Through burrowing, feeding, and breeding, these crustaceans transform rugged coastlines into complex living structures, sustaining communities that depend upon their labor. Over eons, their craftsmanship has reshaped entire regions of the ocean floor, proving that intelligence in nature is not measured by awareness alone, but by the capacity to build, maintain, and nurture the conditions of life itself. In the restless shallows where waves grind coral to dust and currents sweep the seafloor clean of yesterday's wreckage, small architects scuttle among the debris. Their claws move with mechanical precision, sifting, testing, and selecting. A broken shell here, a strand of algae there. To a diver, it might look like scavenging, the ceaseless hunt for scraps in a world of scarcity. But to the crab, this is construction. Each fragment is a building block, each movement a deliberate act of design. Across every coastline on Earth, from tropical reefs to muddy estuaries, crabs transform the waste of the sea into a living architecture that sustains them, protects them, and often outlasts them. Underwater, the camera lingers over a decorator crab clinging to a patch of coral rubble. Its body is almost invisible, cloaked in a patchwork of textures and colors stolen from its surroundings. Tiny tufts of sponge, bits of algae, even pieces of living coral are attached to its carapace using natural hooks, small curved bristles called setae that act like Velcro. What appears at first to be a lump of moving seaweed is in truth an elaborate disguise. Every piece chosen and placed serves a purpose. Some fragments confuse predators, others provide chemical camouflage by masking the crab's scent. Evolution has turned this creature into both builder and artist, a living collage pieced together from the ocean's leftovers. The decorator crab's construction strategy is a masterpiece of resourcefulness. It doesn't grow coral or secret limestone. Instead, it borrows from the environment's endless supply of material. Its scavenging behavior is a form of biomimicry in reverse, not shaping nature, but allowing nature to shape it. Different species have different architectural styles. Those living among sponges coat themselves with soft, porous fragments that match the texture of their hosts. Crabs in seagrass meadows weave long blades of algae across their shells, creating a moving carpet of green. In the deep sea, where light never reaches, species cling to fragments of cold water coral and hydroids, wearing colonies that glow faintly in the dark. Each adaptation is a statement of place, an embodiment of habitat awareness and evolutionary fine-tuning. The motivation behind such meticulous construction is survival. For a crab, life is an unending contest between exposure and concealment. Unlike lobsters or mantis shrimp, most crabs cannot retreat deep into tunnels or reefs. Their bodies are compact and flattened, built for crawling across open substrate rather than digging into it. This exposes them to a long list of predators: fish, octopuses, seabirds, and even other crabs. Camouflage is their fortress, yet it is not only defensive, it is also functional. Many decorator crabs cultivate living materials that contribute to their health. Certain species attach stinging anemones to their shells, a mobile defense system that deters attackers while benefiting from new feeding opportunities as the crab moves. Others carry small colonies of algae that provide both cover and food. When grazed, these algae regrow, ensuring a renewable resource. This relationship between crab and companion is not passive. It is managed, pruned, and arranged like a gardener tending a portable reef. Elsewhere on the seafloor, another architect approaches design differently. The fiddler crab, famous for its oversized claw, turns excavation into art. Living along tidal flats and mangrove roots, these crabs dig burrows into the mud that can reach half a meter deep. Remarkable engineering feats given their size. The burrow's spiral design prevents collapse and regulates temperature and humidity, functioning like a natural air conditioner during the heat of low tide. When the tide rises, the crab seals the entrance with a perfect mud plug, trapping a pocket of air inside that allows it to breathe while submerged. Every dawn and dusk, hundreds of fiddler crabs emerge from these burrows in synchronized waves, the males waving their giant claws in territorial and courtship displays. From above, the spectacle resembles a living mosaic, an orchestrated ballet of motion and architecture driven by instinct and environmental rhythm. These burrows, though simple in appearance, shape entire ecosystems. They oxygenate the mud, bringing buried nutrients to the surface and allowing microbial communities to thrive. This process, known as bioturbation, transforms anaerobic sediments into living soil. The impact ripples outward, algae grow denser, worms and mollusks proliferate, and fish feed in greater numbers. The fiddler crab's burrow becomes the foundation for a miniature food web. Their collective digging alters the landscape itself, sculpting mounds and pits that channel tidal flows and redistribute sediment. Over centuries, the accumulated labor of millions of such crabs can reshape estuaries, changing the course of creeks and influencing plant distribution. In essence, the smallest masons of the coast redraw the boundaries of the shoreline. In coral reefs, hermit crabs carry their homes with them, repurposing empty snail shells as mobile shelters. This habit, too, is a form of architecture. When a hermit crab grows too large for its current shell, it searches for a replacement, often engaging in shell exchange chains, where multiple crabs line up by size, each waiting for the next to upgrade. The process can last hours, a carefully negotiated dance of patience and aggression. What might seem like opportunism is, in ecological terms, recycling at its finest. Hermit crabs extend the life cycle of shells, preventing them from eroding before they can serve as substrate for algae or microfauna. In certain reef zones, the abundance of hermit crabs directly correlates with shell turnover rates, influencing how quickly the benthic environment renews itself. Through their endless quest for better armor, they maintain a steady circulation of materials that benefits the entire ecosystem. Crabs are opportunistic by nature, scavengers as much as builders. They feed on detritus, carrion, and organic waste, cleaning the seabed in the process. Every crab, whether a decorator or a fiddler or a hermit, contributes to the ocean's sanitation system. This role as recycler is vital. Without scavengers, nutrients would remain locked in decomposing matter, choking coral reefs and seagrass beds. Instead, crabs convert decay into renewal. In feeding on dead fish, fallen kelp and waste material, they accelerate decomposition, returning carbon and nitrogen to circulation. Their foraging disturbs sediment in measured doses, preventing anoxic zones from spreading. Through this constant motion, digging, sifting, scraping, crabs keep coastal ecosystems alive and breathable. One of the most remarkable examples of crab engineering exists in the Indo-Pacific, where decorator crabs have been observed constructing complex shelters from living coral fragments. They select pieces of branching coral, trim them with their claws, and anchor them to the substrate with strands of filamentous algae. Over weeks, the fragments fuse and grow, forming small coral mounds that provide both camouflage and habitat. When the crab eventually leaves, these coral assemblages remain, new microhabitats colonized by fish and invertebrates. In this way, a single animal's survival mechanism becomes a catalyst for reef regeneration. Such behavior blurs the line between instinct and ecosystem engineering, showing how evolution's simplest designs can yield long-term environmental consequences. The architecture of crabs is not always permanent, but its influence endures. On tidal shores, abandoned burrows fill with water during high tide, becoming nurseries for shrimp and small fish. In mangroves, crab tunnels ventilate the root zone, enhancing oxygen exchange and allowing trees to grow taller and denser. Even the discarded shells of hermit crabs serve as miniature homes for sea anemones, worms, and juvenile snails. Every act of construction or abandonment ripples outward, supporting new layers of life. In the grand scheme, the crab's work is cyclical, never static. Creation, decay, renewal, all woven together through motion and adaptation. What sets crabs apart from other builders of the sea is their improvisation. They do not construct according to fixed blueprints or inherited templates. Their architecture evolves from the materials at hand and the demands of the moment. It is situational engineering, spontaneous, responsive, and deeply integrated into the fabric of the ecosystem. A decorator crab's camouflage is influenced by the species of algae growing that season. A fiddler crab's burrow depth changes with tidal range and sediment type. Hermit crabs in polluted regions have even been observed using plastic debris in place of shells, a sobering reminder of the ocean's altered material palette. Nature's builders adapt even to human waste, turning synthetic detritus into reluctant shelter. In the end, the crab's greatest achievement may not be the structures it builds, but the system it sustains. Through their collective scavenging and construction, crabs embody the principle of circular ecology, the transformation of refuse into function, of decay into design. They remind us that architecture need not be monumental to be meaningful. Sometimes it is the smallest acts, a claw rearranging a pebble, a burrow aerating the mud, a shell passed from one tenant to the next, that keep the vast machinery of the ocean running. As the tide retreats, the seafloor becomes a temporary city exposed to the air. Crabs scuttle among the ruins of their own making, carrying fragments of the past into the future. The shells and stones they lift are both armor and inheritance, the tangible record of a species that builds without knowing it is building. In their scavenging lies a quiet genius, a capacity to create order from chaos, to turn debris into architecture, and to keep the sea itself breathing through the art of perpetual reconstruction. In the slow, rhythmic world beneath the reef, where daylight filters through in columns of shifting turquoise, the seafloor hums with invisible labor. Coral towers rise like the bones of ancient architecture, yet every ridge and terrace, every scar of wear upon the limestone, bears the signature of a silent sculptor. The sea urchin, small, spiny, and deceptively primitive, is one of the ocean's most relentless engineers. While coral builds, the urchin tears down. Yet in this destruction lies design. Its tireless grazing reshapes the seabed, balancing growth and decay in a cycle that defines the health of entire ecosystems. Without these quiet stone carvers, reefs would choke under the weight of their own success, and the foundations of the ocean's architecture would begin to crumble. To the eye, an urchin seems more mineral than animal, a perfect sphere bristling with spines that sway and click in the current. Its body plan is radial, symmetrical around a hidden center, a geometry older than bones. Beneath the spines lies a shell of fused calcium plates known as a test, a rigid exoskeleton patterned with pentagonal symmetry. But within that hard casing, an intricate living mechanism operates with astonishing precision. The sea urchin is a creature of pressure and leverage, controlled by hundreds of tiny hydraulic limbs, tube feet that extend and retract by manipulating fluid within its internal canals. Each tube foot ends in a suction disc capable of adhering to rock, coral, or glass with surprising force. Through coordinated contractions, the urchin can glide across surfaces as though on invisible tracks, climbing sheer walls and maneuvering through crevices too tight for most predators to follow. It is a slow-motion ballet of physics and persistence. At the center of this armored orb lies its most remarkable tool, the mouth, or what scientists call Aristotle's lantern. Named for the philosopher who first described it over 2,000 years ago, the lantern is a complex 5-part jaw apparatus capable of continuous motion. Each tooth operates like a miniature chisel, anchored by a muscular system that allows precise control over angle and pressure. Together, the 5 teeth converge at the mouth's center, scraping and biting through rock, algae, and coral. The process is not mere feeding, it is geological modification. As the urchin grazes, it removes fine layers of substrate, smoothing rough coral surfaces into terraces and grooves. These seemingly minor alterations accumulate over centuries, reshaping the very texture of the reef. This grazing serves 2 critical ecological functions. First, it prevents algae from overtaking coral. In the absence of sea urchins, algae proliferate rapidly, smothering coral polyps and blocking sunlight necessary for photosynthesis. Studies across the Caribbean have shown that after major die-offs of urchins in the late 20th century, reef systems collapsed under explosive algal growth, leading to widespread coral death. The urchin's appetite, therefore, is not gluttony but governance. By consuming the excess, it preserves the balance between coral construction and algal invasion. Second, the urchin's excavation creates microhabitats. The depressions it carves in the reef become shelters for juvenile fish, crustaceans, and sponges. Every rasp of its teeth generates both destruction and opportunity, an act of controlled demolition that sustains life across multiple trophic levels. Zoom closer to the reef face, and the scene is one of quiet industry. Dozens of urchins cluster beneath coral ledges, their spines forming a thicket that catches drifting debris. Each moves independently, yet contributes collectively to the reef's maintenance. Some species, like the long-spined diadema, wield needle-like defenses that deter nearly all predators except the most determined triggerfish. Others, such as the rock-boring urchins, burrow directly into the substrate, excavating spherical hollows that they inhabit for life. Over time, these cavities merge into honeycombed surfaces that alter water flow across the reef, channeling currents and sediments in new directions. This is ecosystem engineering on a geological scale, slow, incremental, and irreversible. The biological adaptations that allow such feats are finely tuned. The urchin's spines, though brittle in isolation, function as a distributed armor system. Each spine is attached to a ball and socket joint that allows full rotation, giving the animal a defensive reach in every direction. When threatened, it can angle its spines toward the source of danger, creating a barrier that few predators dare to test. Yet the urchin's greatest protection is not its spines, but its habitat. By excavating depressions and crevices, it effectively sinks itself into the landscape, leaving only a halo of spines visible. This self-made fortress shields it from fish and currents alike. When night falls and the reef darkens, the urchin emerges to feed, navigating by touch and chemical cues rather than sight. Its sensory system is distributed. Every tube foot, every spine tip, even its test surface is photosensitive. The entire body acts as a compound eye, perceiving gradients of light and shadow to guide movement. The result is an organism that senses its surroundings not as images, but as a living map of pressure and brightness. The consequences of urchin activity ripple outward through the food web. Algae grazed by urchins release fragments and spores that feed planktonic communities, while the calcareous dust produced by their scraping contributes to the formation of sand. In tropical lagoons, entire beaches owe their composition in part to centuries of urchin erosion. Every handful of sand once passed through an animal's gut or jaw. Even their waste products, Fine pellets of digested calcium become raw material for new coral growth. It is a perfect cycle. Coral builds, urchin breaks, and together they maintain equilibrium. In ecological terms, the sea urchin embodies feedback regulation, an organism whose destructive habits sustain the architecture of life. Yet this equilibrium is fragile. When urchin populations surge unchecked, their feeding can strip reefs bare, transforming vibrant coral gardens into barren limestone plains known as urchin barrens. Such events are common in temperate kelp ecosystems, where predators like sea otters have been hunted to near extinction. Without otters to keep them in check, urchins devour kelp holdfasts and roots, dismantling entire forests within years. The collapse of kelp forests off Alaska and California stands as a stark example. An ecosystem once towering and dense reduced to rubble by millions of spiny mouths. Conversely, where urchins vanish, as in the Caribbean die-off, reefs suffocate beneath unchecked algae. The ocean's balance depends on their presence in moderation. Too many, and they are destroyers. Too few, and they are saviors absent from the stage. Some of the urchin's most remarkable behaviors are subtle. In exposed shallows where waves crash with relentless force, certain species collect pebbles, shells, and fragments of seaweed, placing them atop their spines like armor. This behavior, known as covering, reduces drag and shields them from ultraviolet radiation. To human eyes, it seems almost deliberate, a creature aware of its vulnerability improvising a solution. But in truth, it is instinct guided by feedback, the sensation of current and light triggering movement, the evolutionary echo of millennia spent surviving in the surf zone. In this small act, the urchin demonstrates behavioral flexibility that rivals far more complex animals. It is not a passive relic of evolution, but an adaptive participant in its environment. Over time, the legacy of urchin activity becomes carved into the reef itself. Dive along ancient limestone ledges, and the marks are visible. Grooves etched into rock, pits smoothed into shallow bowls, ridges worn into terraces. These are the signatures of generations of feeding, each bite contributing to the slow metamorphosis of the seafloor. Geological surveys of fossil reefs reveal identical patterns, evidence that urchins have been shaping marine landscapes for over 200 million years. They are as old as coral itself, survivors of mass extinctions that erased entire lineages of marine builders. In their persistence lies the continuity of the ocean's architecture. Predation keeps this sculptural work in check. Triggerfish, wrasses, and sea otters are among the few capable of breaching the urchin's defenses. The triggerfish in particular has evolved a specialized method, flipping the urchin onto its vulnerable underside before hammering through its test to reach the soft tissues within. This predation is brutal but necessary, preventing overgrazing and maintaining diversity across the reef. It is a reminder that even the most industrious engineers require limits, enforced not by intelligence but by hunger. In the grand theater of the ocean, the sea urchin's role is paradoxical. It is both mason and vandal, builder and breaker, its every action and interplay between creation and decay. Its world operates on the timescale of tides and centuries, where change is imperceptible until the landscape itself has transformed. To understand a coral reef's beauty, one must see the marks of its sculptors, not only the corals that construct, but the grazers that refine. The sea urchin, with its ancient symmetry and ceaseless hunger, is among the most enduring of these. It turns coral into sand, waste into foundation, and destruction into continuity. As light fades across the reef, the urchins resume their work, rasping softly in the dim glow. The sound, faint, rhythmic, endless, is the pulse of the ecosystem itself. Their jaws carve patterns into stone, their spines shifting with the current, their lives measured not in speed or spectacle, but in persistence. Every terrace smoothed by their grazing, every grain of sand ground from coral, tells the story of evolution's slow precision, of builders that must first learn to break before they can truly create. Sunlight floods the shallows in shimmering gold, refracting through rippling waves that dance across coral outcrops. The scene feels serene, a silent garden of color and stillness, Yet beneath this calm, a slow-motion construction project unfolds. Here, on the frontier between reef and open water, parrotfish and their close evolutionary cousins, the hulking Napoleon wrasser, are grinding, scraping, and sculpting the very bones of the ocean. Their work is both destructive and creative. Each bite, each crunch of coral skeleton transforms solid reef into the fine white sand that will one day form an island's shoreline. It is construction measured not in days or years, but in centuries. These reef grazers are not simply feeding, they are reshaping the planet's coasts, one grain at a time. Viewed closely, the parrotfish is a paradox of design, part herbivore, part demolition tool. Its beak-like jaws, fused from modified teeth, resemble the chisels of a stonemason. With each bite, the fish scrapes away the surface of dead coral, extracting the thin film of algae that coats it. But what the parrotfish consumes is more than algae. Its digestive system pulverizes the coral skeleton itself, breaking it down into fine calcium carbonate powder. The result emerges hours later as pure sand. A single large parrotfish can produce hundreds of kilograms of it each year. In tropical archipelagos like the Maldives, much of the beach visitors walk upon once passed through the gut of a parrotfish. What appears to be destruction, coral ground to dust, is in truth the mechanism of renewal. The process begins with anatomy. The parrotfish's beak is not merely bone, it is a composite of crystalline fluorapatite, one of the hardest biomaterials on Earth. These teeth are arranged in tight mosaics, forming a cutting surface capable of gouging solid limestone. Behind this formidable tool lies a second set of teeth in the throat, pharyngeal mills that crush the fragments into powder. Evolution has designed this animal to feed on what few others can, the reef itself. And through this feeding, it becomes an ecological regulator. By scraping surfaces clean, parrotfish prevent algae from smothering living coral polyps. They maintain the balance between growth and decay, ensuring that coral larvae have bare substrate on which to settle. Without their constant grazing, reefs would quickly succumb to overgrowth, suffocated under the weight of their own success. Yet parrotfish are not solitary sculptors. Alongside them works another larger engineer, the Napoleon wrasser, also known as the humphead wrasser. Towering over the reef like a submarine in slow drift, this massive fish can grow longer than a man and live for half a century. Its thick lips and powerful jaws are specialized not for algae, but for harder fare, mollusks, crabs, and starfish. With a single bite, it can crush the armored body of a crown-of-thorns starfish, a notorious coral predator. In doing so, the wrasser indirectly protects the reef from outbreaks that can devastate coral populations. Where the parrotfish sculpts and sands, the Napoleon wrasse defends and stabilizes, two branches of evolution performing different yet complementary roles in reef maintenance. Their influence extends beyond ecology into geology. The parrotfish's sand output accumulates over millennia, filling lagoons and forming sandbanks that rise above the tide. These deposits, compacted and reshaped by waves, become islands. In a literal sense, the beaches that define tropical paradise are biological byproducts of feeding behavior. The vibrant reefs offshore and the pristine sands onshore are parts of the same system, living and dead phases of coral cycling through digestion and deposition. Even the soundscape of the reef bears the trace of their labor, a constant crackling and grinding, the percussion of beaks on stone, echoing through the water column like the hum of distant industry. Within this dynamic, behavioral diversity abounds. Parrotfish operate in social hierarchies, often traveling in small schools dominated by a single terminal phase male. These males are strikingly colored, blues, greens, and purples blended into metallic iridescence, while females and juveniles display more subdued hues. Yet color here is not merely aesthetic. Parrotfish are sequential hermaphrodites. Many begin life as females and later transition into males. This flexibility ensures reproductive balance in populations where sex ratios shift due to predation or environmental stress. It also reflects an economy of energy, a system optimized to maximize genetic contribution within complex reef communities. Their daily cycle is no less remarkable. By day, they feed incessantly, scraping and biting across the reef. By night, many species enter a state of suspended animation, secreting a transparent mucus cocoon that envelops their bodies. This protective sheath, secreted from glands near the gills, serves multiple functions. It masks the fish's scent from nocturnal predators such as moray eels and reef sharks, and it acts as an early warning system. Vibrations from an approaching threat ripple through the membrane, alerting the sleeper to danger. Scientists studying these mucus sleeping bags have found that they also repel parasites, reducing the burden of nocturnal cleaners. This nightly ritual, invisible to casual observation, reveals a sophisticated survival adaptation, a self-built barrier born from evolutionary ingenuity. Meanwhile, the Napoleon wrasse, despite its size and power, lives a more deliberate existence. Its growth is slow, and sexual maturity may take decades. This longevity makes it vulnerable to overfishing. Populations take years to recover once depleted. Yet the wrasse's ecological value far outweighs its abundance. By preying on species that consume coral, notably the crown-of-thorns starfish, it acts as a biological counterweight. The starfish, when unchecked, can devastate reefs in waves of feeding outbreaks, stripping coral colonies bare. Where Napoleon wrasses still patrol, these outbreaks are rare. The wrasse is, in effect, the reef's law enforcement, ensuring that the coral engineers, the builders and grazers, can continue their work. Together, these fish exemplify the duality of reef life: creation through consumption, balance through opposition. Every ecosystem depends on such paradoxes. The coral builds by capturing life from water. The parrotfish dismantles to sustain growth. The wrasse kills to preserve structure. Their interactions are a form of ecological choreography, a delicate balance maintained not through harmony, but through perpetual motion and counteraction. The reef thrives not because its inhabitants live peacefully, but because each performs a task that limits another's excess. The camera sweeps across the seafloor, revealing the aftermath of this endless construction. Fine trails of pale dust rise where parrotfish have grazed, drifting like underwater smoke before settling as sediment. Beneath ledges, juvenile fish dart into newly cleaned crevices, claiming shelter that did not exist the day before. Algae regrow in days. The parrotfish will return within hours. It is a cycle of perpetual renewal. The reef as a self-sustaining machine powered by appetite and erosion. The impact of these species extends far beyond the reef itself. In coastal geomorphology, biogenic sand production is a key driver of island evolution. Without the continuous input of coral-derived sand, beaches would erode faster than they could form, and many low-lying islands would vanish beneath the rising tide. Thus, the feeding behavior of parrotfish indirectly influences the stability of entire nations, from the atolls of the Pacific to the cays of the Caribbean. What begins as a mouthful of coral ends as a coastline. The tropical landscape, so often seen as static and idyllic, is in truth the living expression of countless biological transactions occurring beneath the waves. Yet this equilibrium is not guaranteed. Overfishing, pollution, and climate-induced coral bleaching threaten to unravel the system. As coral cover declines, parrotfish lose their feeding grounds. As their numbers fall, algal overgrowth accelerates, smothering what remains of living coral. The loss of Napoleon wrasse compounds the crisis, allowing coral-eating starfish to proliferate unchecked. In regions where these fish have been depleted, reefs deteriorate rapidly. Structure collapses, biodiversity plummets, and sand production slows to a trickle. The beaches recede, and the very line between land and sea begins to dissolve. The chain reaction that began with a missing fish ends with a vanished island. Understanding the parrotfish and Napoleon wrasse, then, is to understand the mechanics of the tropics themselves. These animals embody the principle of ecological continuity, that creation and destruction are not opposites, but phases of the same process. Their jaws are both tools and engines, shaping landscapes that will persist long after their lifespans end. In the quiet hours of dawn, as the tide shifts and the first rays of sun strike the reef, a parrotfish begins to feed once more. The sound of its beak scraping coral is faint but constant, an ancient rhythm echoing through shallow water. Each crunch is an act of renewal, each fragment of coral a promise of future land. In time, storms will grind that sand finer, waves will lift it ashore, and wind will sculpt it into dunes. A palm tree may grow there, its roots tracing lines through sediment that began as coral polyp and passed through the belly of a fish. The tourist walking barefoot along that beach will never know its true origin. But beneath the waves, the builders still labor, parrotfish and wrasse, evolution's patient craftsmen, carving continents from coral in the slowest, most beautiful construction project on Earth. Beneath the swaying forests of kelp and along the shadowed ledges of coral reefs, a world of quiet construction unfolds. The seafloor here is littered with broken shells, coral fragments and stones, the remains of meals, storms, and time itself. Yet among this rubble, subtle order emerges. Shells are stacked in arcs, pebbles arranged in neat rings, and coral shards interlocked like puzzle pieces. These are not random patterns left by current or chance. They are the deliberate handiwork of one of the ocean's most extraordinary engineers, the octopus. With no bones, no tools, and no permanent shelter of its own, it has become a master of building, using its intelligence, dexterity, and spatial awareness to design homes that serve as both refuge and weapon. To watch an octopus at work is to witness thought in motion. 8 arms, each lined with hundreds of suction cups, move independently yet purposefully, like a team of autonomous builders working toward a single vision. The creature's body changes texture and color with each task, smooth and pale while resting, mottled and dark while hauling stones. The arms bend and curl, measuring gaps in rock crevices before selecting the perfect-sized pebble to plug them. The scene feels almost human in its deliberation, but the octopus's architecture is shaped by a mind unlike any other. Its neurons are not centralized as in vertebrates. 2/3 of them reside in the arms themselves, granting each limb a degree of semi-independent decision-making. The octopus is, in effect, a distributed intelligence, a living network where thought and action coexist in every extremity. Its den, once completed, is both fortress and stage. The entrance is narrow, often less than the width of its body, leading to a chamber hollowed from sand, coral, or rock. Inside, the octopus rests coiled and alert, eyes half closed yet watching through the gloom. Around the entrance, the debris field expands, empty crab shells, clams, and snail husks piled high in what scientists call middens. These mounds serve more than aesthetic purpose. They camouflage the den, deter predators, and even mark territorial boundaries. The sight of a midden tells the story of both survival and intellect, the trace of an animal that kills not only to feed but to fortify. An octopus's architectural choices vary with environment and personality. In sandy flats, it buries itself beneath a loose lid of shells, leaving only its eyes exposed. In rocky reefs, it constructs stone-lined bunkers, rearranging rubble with precision. In coral gardens, it repurposes abandoned crevices, clearing sediment with jets of water expelled through its siphon. Each design balances safety, ventilation, and accessibility. The entrances are always small enough to prevent larger predators like moray eels from entering, yet wide enough for rapid escape. The materials used reflect opportunism and adaptability. One octopus may build with coral branches, another with shards of glass or metal debris. Modern oceans have turned them into reluctant recyclers, incorporating bottle caps and discarded cans into their shelters, a haunting reminder of how human waste now serves as building material in the wild. Every den functions as a living extension of the octopus's physiology. Lacking a protective shell or skeleton, its soft body demands a controlled environment. Temperature fluctuations, currents, and the chemical makeup of surrounding water can all threaten its survival. The den stabilizes these variables, providing insulation and security. Within, the octopus manages a microclimate, regulating moisture and oxygen by adjusting its entrance with debris. When resting or brooding eggs, it maintains a gentle flow of water through rhythmic contractions of the mantle, a biological ventilation system that keeps the interior oxygen-rich. The precision of these behaviors reveals an animal not merely responding to instinct, but capable of environmental engineering fine-tuned through evolution and learning. The octopus's relationship with its den also mirrors its complex psychology. It is a creature of solitude, but not of stillness. Most species spend their days hidden within their self-made fortresses and emerge at dusk to hunt. Before departing, they rearrange stones at the entrance, creating a temporary barricade against intrusion. Upon return, they often modify or expand the structure, an ongoing process of refinement. This pattern of daily maintenance, inspect, adjust, reinforce, reflects a behavioral loop that suggests foresight. Studies in laboratory conditions have shown octopuses remembering the locations of objects, preferring certain materials, and even displaying individuality in construction style. Some build symmetrical dens, others favor asymmetry. Some keep tidy interiors, others accumulate chaotic piles of debris. These variations hint at personality, one of the rarest traits in invertebrate life. Predation plays a defining role in shaping the octopus's architectural evolution. Lurking beyond the den's perimeter are countless threats: groupers, sharks, moray eels, and occasionally other octopuses. The den is both shield and escape route. Its narrow tunnels force attackers to approach headfirst, leaving them exposed. If cornered, the octopus employs its signature defense, a cloud of ink released through its siphon, thick with melanin and mucus. The ink obscures vision and confuses chemical scent trails, allowing the octopus to jet away in a burst of propulsion. When it returns, often to the same site, it may rebuild or move entirely, learning from each encounter. Survival in this environment demands flexibility, and the octopus excels at it. Its architecture evolves not across generations, but across lifetimes. Perhaps the most fascinating examples of octopus engineering come from species that employ tools, a rare trait among non-human animals. The veined octopus, Amphioctopus marginatus, inhabiting the seafloors of the Indo-Pacific, collects coconut shells discarded by humans. It carries them across the sand, often awkwardly, two halves clutched beneath its body like makeshift armor. When threatened, it assembles them into a spherical refuge, sealing itself inside. Scientists studying this behavior described it as true tool use, the deliberate transport and assembly of objects for future protection. The discovery challenged long-standing assumptions about invertebrate cognition, proving that planning, foresight, and even improvisation exist far beyond the vertebrate brain. Inside the den, another kind of architecture unfolds, one that transcends function and enters the realm of life and death. When an octopus lays eggs, it transforms its home into a nursery. The female attaches long strings of translucent eggs to the roof of the den, guarding them with unwavering devotion. For weeks or months, she will not eat, devoting her final energy to fanning oxygen-rich water across the developing embryos. Each egg is a delicate capsule containing a miniature replica of its mother, complete with chromatophores that shimmer faintly as they mature. When the young finally hatch, they drift upward into the current, beginning lives that will likely end in the same pattern: construction, solitude, and an ending within the walls they built. The mother, her energy spent, dies soon after. In her final act, she sustains her offspring not through nourishment, but through shelter. The ecological influence of octopus dens extends far beyond their builders. Abandoned dens become valuable real estate for other species, fish, shrimp, and small crabs seeking refuge. Over time, these sites accumulate organic material and serve as microhabitats for algae and sponges. In this way, each octopus contributes to the broader architecture of the reef, creating temporary shelters that persist long after their death. It is a cycle of use, decay, and rebirth woven seamlessly into the ocean's spatial design. Even the act of building is a form of learning. Octopuses possess exceptional short-term memory and spatial awareness, mapping their surroundings through tactile exploration. Their suction cups can taste and smell, allowing them to identify safe materials and potential threats simultaneously. When selecting stones or shells, they test surfaces with their arms, evaluating texture, density, and weight through chemical and mechanical cues. The den that results is not a product of random instinct, but a synthesis of sensory data and experience. architecture constructed by a mind attuned to both environment and consequence. Across the world's oceans, from the kelp beds of California to the volcanic slopes of Indonesia, the octopus's signature can be found in these small, deliberate arrangements of the seafloor. Each structure is a reflection of intelligence expressed through interaction with the physical world. Where most creatures adapt to their surroundings, the octopus reshapes them. Its architecture is not permanent like coral or inherited like a shell. It is improvisational, a living dialogue between necessity and invention. As the camera drifts closer, the octopus stirs within its den. One arm slides outward, curling around a shell fragment. A brief pulse of color ripples across its skin, an iridescent wave of blues and browns shifting to match the sand. Then, with a smooth motion, it adjusts the shell at the entrance, as though tightening the final brick in a wall. It pauses, eyes glinting with an intelligence difficult to quantify, and withdraws back into the shadows. The current resumes its quiet passage over the seafloor, carrying fragments of coral and driftwood that may one day join another den. In a world without permanence, the octopus's architecture is an act of defiance, a soft-bodied creature constructing order within the chaos of the sea. Its designs may vanish with the tide, its builders living brief and solitary lives, yet the legacy endures in the rhythm of adaptation they embody. To watch an octopus rearrange the seafloor is to see the ocean think, to witness intelligence made visible through motion, design, and the relentless will to endure. In the muted blue-green twilight of the continental shelf, the sand lies still, a blank stage waiting for the unseen to reveal itself. Nothing moves, yet everything watches. Then, without warning, a shimmer passes across the seafloor. Patterns ripple and dissolve, as if the sand itself were breathing. Out of this living mirage, a shape emerges, a cuttlefish. Neither fully fish nor mollusk in the ordinary sense, it is a creature of pure transformation. Its soft body carries no armor, no permanent form, and yet it survives in a world built for predators with teeth and speed. The cuttlefish is not defended by hardness or flight, but by illusion. An architect of deception, whose entire existence depends on the art of vanishing. Seen up close, a cuttlefish seems impossibly alive with color. Its skin pulses with shifting bands of white, brown, and iridescent blue that race across its body like electrical currents. This spectacle is not random beauty, but communication, camouflage, and control. Beneath the surface lie tens of thousands of pigment cells called chromatophores, each one a tiny elastic sac filled with color. These are controlled by radial muscles that expand or contract to reveal or conceal pigment. Surrounding them are iridophores and leucophores, reflective and scattering cells that manipulate light itself, producing metallic sheens or milky brightness. Working together, they give the cuttlefish an unmatched ability to paint its own environment onto its skin in real time. What we see as color is, for this animal, a language of survival. The speed of its transformation borders on mechanical perfection. Within 200 milliseconds, faster than a blink, the cuttlefish can shift from pale sand mimicry to the high-contrast stripes of aggression. Its brain orchestrates these displays with astonishing complexity. Though it belongs to the invertebrate world, the cuttlefish possesses one of the largest and most developed nervous systems of any marine animal, rivaling that of some vertebrates. Its optic lobes are immense, processing visual input with efficiency that surpasses most fishes. The irony, however, is that the cuttlefish itself is colorblind. It perceives the world through polarization and contrast rather than hue. Using this unique form of vision, it detects the angle and intensity of light reflected from surfaces, allowing it to map texture, pattern, and brightness. In effect, it feels color through physics rather than sight, an evolutionary compromise that grants it mastery over light itself. When it hunts, this living illusionist becomes a predator of rare precision. Hovering inches above the seafloor, the cuttlefish undulates the edges of its fins to stabilize itself in the current. Its pupils, horizontal slits shaped like the letter W, scan for motion. Once prey is located, typically a shrimp or small fish, its body ripples through a wave of color that seems to mesmerize. The display, often called the passing cloud, moves like the shadow of a drifting object, distracting the victim's attention from the attack to come. In the next instant, the cuttlefish strikes. Two feeding tentacles shoot from beneath its arms, extending faster than human reflexes can track, impaling the prey with suction-tipped pads. The tentacles retract, delivering the meal into a beak-like mouth, where a rasping, tongue-like organ tears it apart. The entire sequence, from deception to kill, unfolds in less than a second, a choreography of neurology, optics, and precision engineering. But camouflage for the cuttlefish is not merely defense or ambush, it is expression. During courtship, males display high-contrast zebra patterns along their bodies, signaling vigor and dominance to potential mates while warning rivals to keep distance. Yet even in this moment of display, deception persists. Males competing for females sometimes divide their bodies visually, one side showing bold, courting colors to a female, while the other side remains muted, disguising their intentions from nearby males. This split signaling, unique among cephalopods, reveals a mind capable of tactical communication. It is social intelligence built upon the same foundation as its camouflage, the control of perception. Reproduction introduces another layer of architectural ingenuity. Female cuttlefish deposit clusters of eggs under ledges or among seaweed, attaching them with adhesive secretions. The eggs, often described as resembling black grapes, are coated in ink to deter predators. Inside, the developing embryos already display active chromatophores, flashing patterns before they hatch. Studies have shown that these unborn cuttlefish can learn visual cues while still in the egg, imprinting on the environment around them. When they emerge, they are miniature replicas of adults, fully capable of camouflage, hunting, and mimicry from their first breath of seawater. Their architecture of illusion is not learned but inherited, written into their nervous system from birth. Beyond color, the cuttlefish commands texture as a secondary tool. Small muscles in its skin can raise or flatten dermal papillae, flexible structures that alter the skin's surface from smooth to ridged or spiked. In moments, a cuttlefish can transform from a featureless swimmer to a living sculpture of rock and coral. This dynamic texture allows it to blend into complex habitats such as reef rubble, seaweed forests, or sponge beds where mere coloration would fail. Combined with its chromatophores, this adaptation grants it near invisibility against any background. Scientists studying these transitions have found that the animal uses visual feedback loops. It constantly compares its appearance to its surroundings and adjusts in real time, as if monitoring its own disguise through a mirror made of light. This mastery of illusion extends to interactions with predators. When cornered, the cuttlefish executes an extraordinary maneuver. It ejects a cloud of ink mixed with mucus that forms a dense, cohesive blob known as a pseudomorph. To the attacking fish, the blob resembles the shape and size of the cuttlefish itself. As the predator lunges at the false body, the real cuttlefish propels itself away with a jet of water, vanishing into the background with a flicker of color and texture. In evolutionary terms, this tactic represents more than evasion. It is the weaponization of misdirection, a cognitive strategy that uses an enemy's senses against it. The cuttlefish does not merely flee, it manipulates perception to rewrite reality for its pursuer. The architecture of its illusion is supported by a skeleton of gas. Inside its body lies the cuttlebone, a porous internal shell composed of aragonite and chitin. This structure functions as a buoyancy regulator, allowing the animal to fine-tune its position in the water column by controlling the gas-to-liquid ratio within its chambers. The cuttlebone's intricate lattice design has inspired materials scientists who study its microstructure for applications in lightweight engineering. It is one of nature's most efficient constructions, strong, flexible, and self-regulating. The same animal that sculpts light and texture also engineers pressure and balance with mathematical precision. The intelligence that drives these behaviors has long fascinated biologists. Laboratory experiments have shown cuttlefish solving mazes, remembering patterns, and even delaying gratification, a level of cognitive sophistication comparable to some birds and mammals. When presented with a small prey item immediately or a larger one after waiting, many cuttlefish choose to wait, demonstrating impulse control rarely observed in non-vertebrates. This capacity for decision-making suggests an internal model of time and consequence, an awareness of future reward that blurs the boundary between instinct and reasoning. Their brains, arranged in ring-like lobes around the esophagus, operate not only as control centers for movement and camouflage, but as hubs of learning, memory, and adaptability. Yet for all their intelligence, the lives of cuttlefish are fleeting. Most species live only 1 or 2 years. Their brilliance burns fast, a life of rapid growth, constant adaptation, and sudden death after spawning. When reproduction ends, the adult systems shut down, and the body drifts toward the sea floor. Even in decay, the cuttlebone remains, rising later to the surface to wash ashore as pale, brittle fragments. On beaches around the world, these remnants are familiar to coastal wanderers, used as calcium supplements for pet birds or ground into powder by waves. Each piece once belonged to a mind that mastered illusion, a creature that made its own form into architecture. As the camera pans back through the reef, the scene resets. The cuttlefish that had vanished reappears, shifting again, from coral mimicry to open water transparency. Its skin flickers in complex rhythms, light scattering off iridescent bands as though reflecting a coded message no other species can read. Then, in an instant, it is gone once more, dissolved into its background, leaving only the faint shadow of its passing. The water returns to stillness, but the illusion lingers, proof that in the ocean, survival is often less about strength or speed than the ability to shape perception itself. The cuttlefish's legacy is written not in stone or coral, but in the fluid geometry of adaptation. It is an artist that builds with color, an engineer that manipulates optics, and an illusionist that redefines the boundary between biology and design. Its body is architecture in motion, a living projection that proves that evolution's finest structures are not always solid, but made of light, thought, and transformation. Morning breaks over the Pacific coast in a haze of mist and gold. The sea's surface lies calm, a liquid mirror reflecting the silhouettes of towering kelp fronds that reach upward from the depths. Beneath this floating canopy lies one of the planet's most intricate ecosystems, a vertical forest of living algae that rivals the biodiversity of coral reefs. The water sways with rhythmic pulse, sunlight piercing through layers of green and amber to illuminate fish schools moving like drifting leaves. In this submerged woodland, balance is fragile. Each stalk of kelp depends on a chain of unseen relationships, and at the very center of this complex web drifts an unlikely guardian, the sea otter. Wrapped in the gentle sway of the kelp, a sea otter floats on its back, grooming meticulously. Its fur glistens like polished bronze under the morning light, a fur so dense it traps air within it, forming a dry, insulating layer that keeps the animal warm even in near-freezing waters. Unlike most marine mammals, the sea otter lacks the thick layer of blubber that seals out the cold for whales and seals. Instead, it survives by maintaining the densest coat in the animal kingdom, with nearly 1 million hairs per square inch. To keep this natural armor effective, the otter must clean and fluff it constantly. Each grooming session is an act of survival, an underwater equivalent of preening that can take up to a third of the animal's waking hours. But the otter's role in this ecosystem extends far beyond self-care. It is not just an inhabitant of the kelp forest, it is its engineer, the species that prevents the entire structure from collapsing. To understand its importance, one must look downward to the forest floor where armies of purple sea urchins crawl across the substrate. These spiny grazers are voracious feeders, scraping away the holdfasts, the root-like structures that anchor kelp to the sea floor. Left unchecked, they can strip vast expanses of seabed bare, transforming lush forests into desolate urchin barrens. Each barren is a silent ruin, no shelter for fish, no canopy for invertebrates, no food for grazers. The entire three-dimensional structure of life flattens into emptiness. Enter the sea otter, a predator of precision and persistence. Diving through curtains of kelp, it forages with its forepaws, feeling along the rocks for the hard shapes of urchins, crabs, or clams. Its sense of touch is extraordinary, aided by sensitive whiskers that can detect the faint vibrations of prey hidden beneath sediment. Once it grasps a victim, The otter returns to the surface, balancing on its back like a floating craftsman at work. Here it reveals one of the most remarkable behaviors in the animal world: tool use. Selecting a smooth stone from the seafloor, it places it on its chest and begins hammering the urchin shell with rhythmic precision until it cracks open. Few animals have mastered the use of external objects to manipulate their environment. Among marine species, the sea otter stands almost alone. The stone, sometimes carried for days in a special pouch beneath its forearm, is both utensil and inheritance. A simple yet profound adaptation passed through generations by observation and imitation. The otter's appetite is formidable. To maintain body temperature in cold waters, it must consume up to a quarter of its body weight in food each day. Every dive, every cracked shell, every swallowed crab contributes to a delicate balance that extends beyond its own survival. By feeding on urchins, the otter indirectly nurtures the kelp that shelters countless other organisms. In areas where otters thrive, kelp forests grow tall and dense, their fronds forming corridors for fish, hiding places for octopuses, and anchor points for invertebrates. In contrast, where otters have vanished, historically due to fur trade hunting, the urchins multiply unchecked and the forests fall. The loss of one species triggers a cascade of collapse, a chain reaction that strips the ecosystem of both structure and diversity. The sea otter's ecological role is the textbook example of a keystone species, an organism whose influence far exceeds its abundance. Like a single arch stone supporting the weight of a bridge, the otter's predation sustains the entire architecture of the kelp forest. This interdependence is not theoretical, it has been measured in real landscapes. Along the coasts of Alaska and British Columbia, researchers documented the difference between reefs with and without otters. In otter-free zones, urchins covered nearly every surface, and kelp density dropped by more than 90%. In protected areas where otters had returned, urchin numbers plummeted, kelp flourished, and biodiversity doubled. The otter's presence restored vertical life to the ocean, reviving corridors that stretch from the sunlit surface to the dark sea floor below. Yet the sea otter's influence is not limited to kelp alone. Its hunting patterns ripple outward through the entire food web. By preying on crabs that feed on sea snails and smaller urchins, it shapes the behavior of multiple trophic levels. It is a top-down regulator in a system where energy flows through complex pathways. Even nutrient cycling is affected. The otter's constant motion stirs sediment, releasing trapped carbon and nitrogen back into circulation. In thriving kelp forests, this biological activity contributes to carbon sequestration, the long-term storage of carbon dioxide in marine vegetation and sediments. In essence, the otter not only protects the forest, but helps it function as a living climate stabilizer. The kelp forest itself is an organism of motion. Giant kelp can grow up to 0.5 meter in a single day, reaching heights of over 30 meters. Its fronds form a floating canopy that absorbs sunlight and oxygenates the water below. Fish weave through the stalks like birds in treetops, while sea lions and seals hunt along the edges. The forest structure creates layers of life: the canopy, the mid-water zone, and the holdfast region, each supporting different species adapted to light and pressure. The otter navigates all three with effortless grace, moving between worlds that few other mammals can traverse. When resting, it anchors itself by wrapping strands of kelp around its body, forming a living tether that prevents it from drifting away on the tide. Mothers do the same with their pups, swaddling them in kelp bundles before diving to hunt. This maternal behavior reveals another facet of the otter's extraordinary biology, an emotional intelligence and social complexity rare among marine carnivores. Female otters nurture their single pup for months, teaching it to float, dive, and crack open prey. The pup's fur is so buoyant at birth that it cannot submerge. Until its first molt, it remains on the surface, relying entirely on the mother's care. During hunting dives, the mother leaves her pup secured in the kelp canopy, returning frequently to groom, feed, and rest beside it. In this nurturing bond, the future of the forest is preserved, each new generation of otters carrying forward the behaviors that sustain the ecosystem. But the balance remains precarious. Sea otters are still recovering from near extinction. During the 18th and 19th centuries, fur traders hunted them relentlessly for their luxuriant pelts, reducing populations from hundreds of thousands to a few thousand scattered individuals. The loss of otters triggered ecological collapse along thousands of kilometers of coastline, transforming once verdant kelp forests into wastelands. Only in the past few decades, through conservation efforts and legal protections, have some populations begun to rebound. In places where they have returned, such as parts of California, Alaska, and the Aleutian Islands, the transformation has been immediate and visible. Within years, barren seascapes become thriving underwater jungles, proving that restoration is possible when nature's architects are allowed to rebuild. Still, threats persist. Climate change alters ocean temperatures and nutrient cycles, weakening kelp growth. Pollution and coastal development introduce sediment and toxins that inhibit photosynthesis. Meanwhile, rising populations of orcas, facing declines in traditional prey like seals and sea lions, have turned to otters as an alternative food source in some regions. Each new challenge tests the resilience of this interconnected system. The survival of the kelp forest now hinges on maintaining a balance not only within the ecosystem, but between human impact and natural recovery. To drift through a healthy kelp forest is to move through a cathedral of light and life. Shafts of sun filter through the canopy, illuminating clouds of plankton and schools of perch. The water hums with the quiet crackle of shrimp and the rhythmic flow of the tide. And amid it all, the sea otter floats at the surface, grooming, feeding, resting, unaware that its daily rituals sustain this grandeur. Beneath its gentle appearance lies the influence of a predator whose every bite keeps the ocean alive with architecture. In the grand design of marine ecosystems, few species embody the link between behavior and environment so perfectly as the sea otter. It is an engineer that never builds but maintains, a craftsman whose tools are its paws and teeth, and whose blueprints are written in balance. By controlling the urchins below, it ensures the forest above remains standing. Through its care, the kelp's pillars rise, the canopy flourishes, and the vertical world beneath the waves continues to breathe. The sea otter's story is not simply one of survival, it is one of stewardship. In its quiet, meticulous work, the ocean's forests endure. In the shallows where the sunlight bends through turquoise water and paints rippling mosaics across the sand, a quiet city thrives. This city has no steel, no stone, and no sound but the pulse of the tide and the whisper of seagrass swaying with the current. Beneath the waves, these meadows stretch for kilometers along tropical and subtropical coasts, forming one of Earth's most productive and overlooked ecosystems. Fish weave through the blades like pedestrians in a marketplace, crabs scuttle in the shadows, and clouds of juvenile shrimp rise and fall with the rhythm of the sea. This is not a coral reef or a mangrove swamp, but a different kind of living architecture, one sculpted not by coral builders or tidal routes, but by grazers. And among these gardeners of the ocean, none play a greater role than the green sea turtle. The green turtle glides into view with the calm assurance of an ancient lineage. Its shell, olive brown and smooth from decades of use, catches the glint of filtered sunlight. Few animals embody the continuity of life like this reptile. Its ancestors have swum in the world's oceans for more than 100 million years, long before mammals ventured onto land, long before the continents settled into their modern shapes. Yet despite its prehistoric origins, the green turtle's influence on modern ecosystems is strikingly contemporary. It is a regulator, a recycler, a living agent of environmental balance. Unlike its carnivorous relatives, the green turtle is primarily herbivorous as an adult. Its diet is composed almost entirely of seagrass, the flowering marine plants that form vast underwater meadows in shallow coastal zones. These grasses, though often mistaken for seaweeds, are true vascular plants. They photosynthesize, flower, and produce seeds. They anchor themselves in sediment through root systems, stabilizing coastlines and preventing erosion. But their success depends on constant maintenance. Left unchecked, seagrass can grow tall and dense, blocking light from reaching the lower leaves and causing entire patches to die from self-shading. The turtle's grazing prevents this. By cropping the blades short, it allows sunlight to penetrate deeper and oxygen to circulate through the meadow. In doing so, it maintains the health of a habitat that supports thousands of species, from fish nurseries to invertebrate colonies, from filter-feeding clams to predatory rays. To watch a turtle feed is to see the process of ecosystem engineering in motion. With slow, deliberate bites, it tears away seagrass blades, its serrated lower jaw acting like a pair of shears. Each movement releases a flurry of detritus into the water, tiny fragments of plant matter that drift upward and become food for plankton, microorganisms, and filter feeders. What the turtle doesn't eat directly nourishes others. This cascading effect extends through the food web, turning a single act of grazing into a cycle of regeneration. Even the turtle's waste enriches the sediment with nutrients, accelerating plant regrowth. In ecological terms, the green turtle is not merely a consumer, but a catalyst, a keystone grazer whose presence transforms the dynamics of coastal ecosystems. The turtle's grazing also shapes the physical landscape of the seafloor. Repeated feeding over years can carve distinct grazing halos, circular clearings surrounded by taller seagrass, visible even from above the water. These open patches create microhabitats that attract fish and invertebrates, increasing biodiversity. The meadows become mosaics of grazed and ungrazed zones, each with its own ecological community. In effect, the turtle acts as a landscaper, pruning and diversifying the marine garden through selective feeding. Studies have shown that areas with healthy turtle populations host higher densities of seagrass species, greater oxygen exchange, and improved carbon storage. By maintaining short productive growth, turtles amplify the meadow's ability to absorb carbon dioxide, a vital contribution in the fight against climate change. The significance of these meadows extends beyond biology. Seagrass systems capture and store carbon in their roots and sediments far more efficiently than terrestrial forests, a phenomenon known as blue carbon. When turtles graze, they stimulate new growth, which in turn sequesters even more carbon. Without this constant grazing, meadows can become stagnant, smothered by decaying vegetation and limited photosynthesis. Thus, the green turtle's appetite indirectly fuels one of the ocean's greatest carbon sinks. It is an ancient animal performing a modern service, a natural climate engineer working silently below the waves. Life for a green turtle, however, is a journey of endurance. Each individual begins its story on a moonlit beach, hatching from a buried nest of eggs and racing toward the sea in a frenzy of instinct and danger. Those that survive this first perilous sprint embark on a migration that may span thousands of kilometers. Juveniles drift in open ocean currents for years, carried among floating sargassum mats that offer food and protection. Only when they reach maturity, often after 2 or 3 decades, do they return to coastal waters to feed and breed. The fidelity of these journeys is remarkable. Female turtles return to the very beaches where they were born, guided by Earth's magnetic field and an internal map etched into their nervous system. This navigation, honed over evolutionary time, connects distant ecosystems, open ocean gyres, coral reefs, and coastal meadows, all linked by the turtle's cyclical migration. In the meadows, the turtle's interactions extend beyond the plants it eats. Its shell hosts colonies of algae, barnacles, and small crustaceans, forming a miniature ecosystem of its own. Fish such as wrasses and tangs follow in its wake, picking parasites and debris from its body, a symbiotic cleaning service that benefits both parties. Predators, too, are part of this equation. Sharks, particularly tiger sharks, patrol the same meadows, preying on unwary turtles. Yet even this relationship maintains ecological balance. The presence of predators alters the turtle's grazing patterns, preventing overfeeding in a single area and promoting patchy growth across the meadow. The entire system functions through tension and restraint, shaped by fear as much as by feeding. The green turtle's evolutionary adaptations mirror the demands of this lifestyle. Its streamlined shell reduces drag, while its powerful foreflippers generate efficient propulsion. Each beat carries it through water with graceful economy, capable of migrating across entire ocean basins without rest. Beneath its calm exterior, lies a physiology built for endurance. Large lungs for rapid oxygen exchange, slow metabolism for extended dives, and the ability to lower heart rate to a near standstill while resting on the seafloor. During long feeding sessions, a turtle can remain submerged for over half an hour, resurfacing only briefly before descending again to continue its methodical trimming. Every movement is energy calculated, a balance between conservation and necessity in a life defined by vast distances and slow returns. Yet for all their resilience, green turtles face mounting pressures that threaten the meadows they maintain. Human activity has transformed coastlines worldwide. Pollution from agriculture clouds the water with sediments, blocking light essential for seagrass growth. Boat propellers scar the seabed, tearing apart root systems that took decades to establish. Plastic debris clogs feeding grounds, mistaken for jellyfish or drifting vegetation. Overfishing disrupts the food web, while climate change warms the shallows beyond the tolerance of many seagrass species. The turtles themselves have endured centuries of exploitation, hunted for their meat, eggs and shells, and caught as bycatch in fishing nets. Today they are protected under international law, yet their numbers remain far below historical levels. In many regions, the loss of turtles has triggered a quiet collapse of seagrass meadows, a chain reaction that extends from lost grazers to lost biodiversity to lost coastal stability. The restoration of these ecosystems depends on the turtles' return. Conservation efforts along the coasts of Australia, the Caribbean and the Indian Ocean have demonstrated this link vividly. When turtle populations recover, seagrass meadows rebound. Grazed areas grow denser, water clarity improves, and fish nurseries flourish. The turtle's presence brings vitality back to the ocean floor, proving that ecological recovery is not a matter of replanting alone, but of restoring relationships. Each returning turtle is a gardener reclaiming its role, trimming the overgrowth and reawakening the rhythm of life beneath the tide. In the filtered calm of a healthy meadow, the scene is almost pastoral. Rays of sunlight dapple the sand as a turtle glides low, its shadow moving over fields of emerald blades. Schools of silver fish scatter before it, reforming in its wake. The turtle pauses, bites, and the seagrass waves back, releasing tiny bubbles of oxygen that shimmer upward like sparks. Above, the surface glows with light and life, while below, the roots of the meadow bind the world together. Here, everything, the turtle, the plants, the sediment, even the air we breathe, is connected through an ancient choreography of balance. The green sea turtle, long a symbol of endurance and wisdom, is more than an emblem of the ocean's beauty. It is a gardener, a maintainer of life's foundation in shallow seas. Its steady grazing sustains one of the planet's most vital and overlooked habitats, ecosystems that protect coasts, feed nations, and store the planet's carbon wealth. In each bite, the turtle prunes, renews, and sustains, ensuring that these submerged cities of seagrass continue to thrive. Beneath the rolling tides, it works silently, trimming the edges of the living earth, keeping the blue planet's lungs breathing with every stroke of its ancient flippers. In the quiet shallows of the Indo-Pacific, where the tide slides lazily over pale sand and the horizon blurs into heat and haze, something stirs beneath the surface. A soft shape glides through water clouded with the green dust of stirred sediment. The scene is slow and serene, but it is not still. Trails etched across the sea floor mark the passage of the dugong, the ocean's quiet plow. Every movement of its rounded snout and paddle-shaped flippers transforms the landscape, reshaping meadows of seagrass in a process as ancient as the animal itself. To the untrained eye, it may look like a grazer drifting at leisure. In reality, it is a living machine of renewal, one of evolution's oldest and most enduring engineers. The dugong belongs to the order Sirenia, named for the sirens of myth, and perhaps no other marine mammal fits the name so well. Its presence is almost ethereal, a grey-brown form moving with impossible grace for its size, propelled by a powerful tail that ends in a fluke like that of a whale. Yet its closest relatives are not whales at all, but elephants. Both share a common ancestor that once roamed the ancient coastlines of Africa more than 50 million years ago, before some descendants chose a life in the sea. The dugong retained its herbivorous nature, but its transformation was profound. The limbs became flippers, the lungs expanded for long dives, and the mouth evolved into a downward-facing scoop built for harvesting the seafloor. Where elephants shape forests, the dugong sculpts the ocean floor. To understand the dugong's ecological role, one must follow it into the seagrass meadows it tends. These underwater prairies, spreading across tropical shallows from East Africa to Australia, are the hidden lungs of the ocean. They absorb carbon, stabilize sediments, and provide food and shelter for thousands of species. But they are living systems in constant flux, dependent on disturbance and renewal. Without grazers, seagrass can grow dense and smother itself, the lower blades buried under layers of silt and decay. The dugong prevents this stagnation. As it feeds, it uproots entire plants, exposing the sediment to oxygen and sunlight. This act of destruction becomes the trigger for rebirth. Nutrients released from the churned soil fertilize new growth, and the disturbed patches create microhabitats for invertebrates and juvenile fish. The dugong's feeding scars, long furrows carved by its snout, are the fingerprints of ecosystem maintenance. The mechanics of this grazing are deceptively complex. The dugong's snout is a tool of remarkable specialization, equipped with sensitive bristles called vibrissae that act like tactile sensors. These whiskers detect the shape, texture, and even chemical composition of seagrass buried beneath the sand. The upper lip is thick and muscular, capable of forming a seal against the substrate to uproot plants by suction. As the animal grazes, it sifts through the sediment, swallowing the tender rhizomes while expelling sand and debris through the sides of its mouth. The preferred diet varies with region and season, but Halophila and Halodule, fast-growing species with fine blades, are among its favorites. These species recover quickly from grazing, ensuring a continuous cycle of harvest and regrowth. In this relationship, predator and plant have evolved in tandem, each shaping the other's survival strategy over millennia. From above, a feeding dugong looks like a shadow gliding across the meadow, trailed by a storm of sediment that slowly settles in its wake. Beneath it, the seafloor comes alive. Crabs, worms, and shrimps rush to exploit the freshly turned soil, scavenging unearthed organisms and organic debris. Small fish dart close behind, snapping up prey flushed from hiding. Even the stirred sediment contributes to the ecosystem's health. Suspended particles release trapped gases, oxygenating layers that might otherwise suffocate. The dugong's every meal becomes a small-scale ecological reset, a pulse of disturbance that keeps the system breathing. It is a process eerily similar to the role of grazing mammals on land, such as bison or wildebeest, whose movements once maintained the balance of grassland ecosystems. Yet the dugong's life is one of delicate compromise. As an obligate herbivore in the sea, it must consume vast quantities of plant matter to sustain its bulk. An adult can weigh more than 300 kilograms and eats up to 40 kilograms of seagrass each day. To meet this demand, it spends much of its life foraging, slow, methodical, and near constant motion. It surfaces to breathe every few minutes, releasing a soft sigh before slipping below again. Despite its size, it is cautious, alert to danger in every ripple. Sharks, crocodiles, and orcas occasionally take advantage of its slow pace, but the dugong's greatest threat has never been predation. It has been us. For centuries, coastal communities hunted dugongs for their meat, oil, and hide. Their docile nature made them easy prey, and their slow reproductive rate made recovery nearly impossible. A female dugong gives birth to a single calf every few years, nursing it for more than a year before it becomes independent. Mothers and calves are inseparable during this time, their bond reinforced through touch and sound. Underwater, they communicate with chirps and trills, soft calls that carry across the shallows. These gentle exchanges contrast sharply with the modern threats that now define their existence. Habitat loss, boat collisions, entanglement in fishing gear, and the rapid decline of seagrass beds due to pollution and climate change. The loss of seagrass is perhaps the most insidious danger. Rising ocean temperatures and nutrient runoff from agriculture promote algal blooms that smother the meadows, blocking light and killing the plants below. Without seagrass, the dugong cannot feed. Without dugongs, the seagrass cannot regenerate effectively. The cycle of balance begins to unravel. In regions such as the Gulf of Thailand and the Arabian Sea, once thriving populations have dwindled to a handful of individuals. Even in Australia, home to the world's largest remaining dugong population, aerial surveys reveal steady declines. The absence of these grazers is visible in the environment they leave behind. Meadows that grow tall, suffocate and die, collapsing into barren flats. And yet, where dugongs endure, the benefits extend far beyond their immediate range. Their grazing enhances seagrass productivity, increasing carbon sequestration rates across entire meadows. In some regions, researchers have found that grazed areas absorb carbon at twice the rate of untouched ones. The disturbed sediments also support greater diversity of microbes that drive nutrient cycling, linking the dugong's activity to processes that influence global carbon balance. This makes them not just local engineers but planetary ones, quiet contributors to the regulation of climate, working unseen beneath the tides. The dugong's behavior shifts with the rhythm of the environment. In regions of strong monsoons, it follows the tides and seasons, moving with the shifting boundaries of seagrass beds. Some individuals maintain small, well-defined home ranges, returning to the same feeding grounds year after year. Others travel vast distances along coastlines, guided by memory and perhaps the subtle cues of magnetic fields. Their migration routes are passed between generations, oral maps written in instinct. These paths often overlap with those of human activity, shipping channels, ports and tourist zones, setting the stage for conflict in increasingly crowded seas. There is an understated intelligence in the dugong's movements, a sense of deliberate rhythm. It feeds, rests, surfaces for air, and returns to its task, maintaining a pace that seems slow to us, but matches the pulse of the ocean itself. Its large eyes, set wide apart, give it a panoramic view of its surroundings, a necessity for spotting predators in the hazy shallows. Its heart rate slows dramatically when it dives, conserving oxygen during long foraging sessions. Even its bones bear the marks of adaptation. Dense and heavy, they counteract buoyancy, keeping the animal anchored near the bottom where the seagrass grows. Everything about the dugong's body is an instrument of equilibrium, mass balanced by grace, need balanced by restraint. In places where conservation has taken hold, the results are striking. In Australia's Shark Bay, for instance, protections enacted in the late 20th century allowed dugong populations to recover. Their return transformed the seascape. Urchins retreated, seagrass spread, and fish diversity surged. Satellite images now reveal the ghostly lines of their feeding trails etched across the seafloor, an art form written in ecology. Elsewhere, in the waters of Mozambique and Papua New Guinea, local communities have revived traditional taboos that protect dugongs, blending cultural heritage with modern conservation. These efforts demonstrate a profound truth. When the plough returns, the meadow thrives. As dusk settles over the shallows, the ocean glows with refracted light. A dugong surfaces quietly, exhaling a plume of bubbles before inhaling with a deep, deliberate breath. For a moment, its broad back breaks the surface, glistening in the amber reflection of the sinking sun. Then it descends again, vanishing into the green haze where the meadows await. Its movements are neither hurried nor hesitant. They are steady, purposeful, inevitable. Each dive stirs the soil, each breath sustains a forest. The dugong story is one of endurance and stewardship, a reminder that even the gentlest creatures can wield immense influence. It tills without tools, farms without fields, and preserves balance without intention. Beneath the waves, it ploughs its living furrows through time, keeping the underwater cities of seagrass alive. Long after its trail has vanished in the tide, the meadow remembers, renewed, enriched, and ready to grow again. In the shallows of the tropics, where sunlight fractures into ribbons of gold and turquoise, the coral reef appears timeless, a cathedral of living stone sculpted by waves and growth. To the casual observer, it is a monument of permanence, the handiwork of builders that reach skyward toward the light. Yet the truth of this underwater city lies in constant motion, a balance between creation and erosion, construction and collapse. Amid the dazzling spectacle of fish and coral, small dark forms creep slowly across the rock, unnoticed but indispensable. These are the sea urchins, the reef's quiet sculptors, shaping the very foundation upon which the entire ecosystem stands. Each spine, each scrape, each rhythmic grinding motion leaves a mark that will outlast generations of the creatures themselves. At first glance, a sea urchin seems too simple, too inert to wield such influence. A sphere of spines, half stone, half animal, its movements are barely perceptible. But beneath that armored shell lies one of the most efficient geological tools ever evolved. The urchin's mouth, located on its underside, contains a 5-part jaw apparatus known as Aristotle's lantern, a name that endures from the philosopher who first described it over 2,000 years ago. Each jaw is tipped with a tooth of crystalline calcium carbonate, harder than most reef rock, capable of grinding through coral skeletons and limestone. As the animal grazes, these teeth work in perfect coordination, wearing down stone to reach the thin film of algae that coats its surface. The process is slow but relentless. A single urchin may erode several kilograms of rock each year. Multiply this by millions across a reef, and the scale of their impact becomes staggering. The grinding does not simply destroy, it transforms. Every bite creates a hollow, a groove, a pit in the coral. Over years, these small depressions accumulate into pathways and microcaves. Tiny invertebrates, worms and crustaceans find refuge within them, using the shelter from predators and currents to thrive. Sponges colonize the openings, filtering the water. Coral larvae settle along the edges, beginning new growth. In this way, the sea urchin's feeding becomes the foundation for regeneration. It is not merely an erosion machine, but a catalyst of renewal, a biological sculptor, carving niches that sustain the diversity for which reefs are famed. Without their continual reshaping, coral surfaces would harden into uninhabitable crusts, smothered under layers of algae and debris. The role of the urchin is especially evident in the Caribbean, where ecological history has turned on their presence and absence. Before the early 1980s, the long-spined urchin Diadema antillarum dominated the region's reefs. By day, they hid among coral branches and crevices, their slender spines waving like living fences. By night, they emerged to graze, scraping every inch of exposed rock clean of algae. Their activity was not gentle. They bit deep, leaving trails of bare limestone in their wake. Yet this destruction kept algal growth in check, allowing coral larvae to settle and flourish. The reef's vibrant complexity, its forests of branching coral, its dense fish populations, depended on the quiet nightly feeding of these creatures. Then, in a single catastrophic decade, disease struck. A mysterious waterborne pathogen swept through the Caribbean, killing more than 90% of the urchin population. In their absence, algae spread unchecked, blanketing coral surfaces and blocking the light they needed to survive. Within a few years, many reefs had shifted from coral-dominated to algal-dominated ecosystems, a phase shift so profound it reshaped the region's entire marine landscape. The loss of a single grazer had triggered a collapse at the level of architecture itself. Researchers who once considered urchins minor players began to understand their true power. They were the engineers of balance, the guardians of structure in a world that relies on constant equilibrium between growth and decay. In the Pacific, the story is both similar and distinct. Species such as the collector urchin, Trypnustes gratilla, and the rock-boring urchin, Echinometra mathae, play parallel roles. The rock borers, in particular, have perfected the art of excavation. Using their teeth, they carve circular burrows into solid reef, embedding themselves so securely that even crashing waves cannot dislodge them. Each burrow grows deeper over the lifetime of its occupant, often becoming permanent features of the reef surface. These shelters protect the urchins from predators like triggerfish, which have evolved specialized strategies for preying on them, flipping urchins upside down to attack their soft undersides. The burrows also act as microhabitats for other species once vacated, housing worms, brittle stars, and small crustaceans. The pattern of holes across a reef face can tell the story of centuries of occupation, a record of individual lives written in stone. The ecological mechanics of this relationship extend beyond the reef structure. By breaking down coral and limestone, urchins contribute significantly to the production of marine sediment, particularly the fine carbonate sands that form tropical beaches. The white sands that line island coasts, the postcard image of paradise, are, in large part, the byproduct of urchin and parrotfish digestion. These sands are not dead waste, but a mobile extension of the reef itself, cycling back into the ecosystem with every wave and tide. In this sense, the urchin's grinding jaws connect geological and biological time, transforming rock into sediment, habitat into foundation, decay into possibility. Urchins also shape reef dynamics through their feeding preferences and population patterns. On healthy reefs, their numbers remain moderate, balanced by predators and by the availability of algae. But when fish that prey upon them, such as triggerfish and wrasses, are overfished, urchin populations can explode. In such cases, their collective grazing becomes overzealous, scraping coral surfaces bare and slowing regrowth. The result is a barren seascape known as an urchin barren, characterized by eroded rock and sparse algae. This overgrazing highlights a paradox at the heart of their role. They are both saviors and destroyers, depending on the balance of ecological pressure around them. When kept in check by natural predators, they maintain the reef's vitality. When unchecked, they dismantle it. The physical adaptations that allow urchins to perform this role are as remarkable as their ecological ones. Their spines, though fragile-looking, are made of a lattice of calcium carbonate that combines strength with flexibility. Beneath the spines lies a dense network of tube feet, small, fluid-driven appendages that function through hydraulic pressure. Each foot ends in a suction cup capable of adhering to rock, allowing the urchin to move in any direction, even upside down, with surprising speed and precision. This hydraulic system, controlled by a decentralized nerve network, enables the animal to coordinate thousands of movements simultaneously without a central brain. In evolutionary terms, it represents one of the most successful forms of locomotion in the ocean, allowing survival across extreme habitats from shallow tidal pools to depths of hundreds of meters. Reproduction, too, is an act of scale. During spawning events, often synchronized by moonlight or water temperature, entire populations release eggs and sperm into the current. The fertilized embryos drift as plankton for weeks, carried by tides before settling on suitable substrates. Only a fraction survive, but those that do may live for decades, some exceeding half a century. Over that lifespan, an individual urchin's cumulative feeding can reshape meters of reef surface, its influence extending far beyond its size. It is a slow-motion architect, its legacy written not in generations but in geological layers. Recent studies have revealed even deeper connections between urchins and reef health. Their grazing not only removes algae, but also encourages microbial communities beneficial to coral resilience. The freshly scraped surfaces they leave behind host bacterial biofilms that aid coral larvae in settlement, a biochemical invitation to rebuild. In this way, the urchin's destruction becomes a necessary prelude to creation, a biological reset button that renews the reef's capacity to heal after storms, bleaching, or disease. In places like the Great Barrier Reef, restoration projects now actively cultivate urchin populations to assist in coral recovery, using nature's original sculptors to repair the damage inflicted by climate change. Despite their ancient lineage and resilience, urchins are vulnerable to subtle shifts in environment. Ocean acidification, driven by rising atmospheric carbon dioxide, threatens the very substance of their bodies. As seawater becomes more acidic, calcium carbonate dissolves more easily, weakening both their spines and teeth. In some regions, shell density has already declined measurably, leaving them more susceptible to predation and disease. It is a quiet crisis, one that mirrors the delicate chemistry of the reefs they help sustain. The sculptor's tools are slowly being dulled by the changes in the medium they carve. Still, where reefs remain intact, the rhythm of their work continues. In the Caribbean twilight, as parrotfish retreat to their sleeping burrows and nocturnal predators begin to stir, the urchins emerge from their crevices. Their spines bristle as they move across the coral, scraping softly in a chorus of faint clicks that echo through the water. Each one carries on the ancient dialogue between animal and stone, a conversation written in abrasion and growth, in cycles of erosion and rebirth. Over centuries, their patient grinding shapes more than the reef's surface. It determines its endurance. To see the reef without the urchin's hand is to glimpse a world out of balance. Coral smothered by algae, fish dispersed, structure collapsing into rubble. To see it with them is to understand that destruction, when measured and rhythmic, is a form of creation. The sea urchin, humble and overlooked, is both mason and miner, tearing down to rebuild, sculpting life from stone grain by grain. Across the Caribbean and Pacific, their invisible labor sustains the architecture of one of Earth's most complex ecosystems. In their jaws, the ocean's bedrock is not a limit but a canvas, and the coral reef itself, their enduring masterpiece. In the stillness of a tropical reef, where sunlight fractures into dancing mosaics across coral towers, a quiet conflict unfolds at the scale of centimeters. Beneath the illusion of peace lies an architectural competition, a slow, relentless expansion as corals push upward and outward, racing for light and space. Growth defines survival here, but unchecked growth is peril. Too much coral too fast, and the reef suffocates beneath its own success. It is a paradox of abundance, and like every overbuilt city, it demands regulation. Among the most unassuming of the regulators, patient, alien, and indispensable, is the starfish. With its symmetrical arms and unhurried pace, the starfish is the reef's recycler, its demolition crew, and its subtle enforcer of balance. Seen up close, a starfish defies expectations of what an animal should be. There is no face, no eyes in the conventional sense, no front or back. Instead, its entire body is an instrument of movement and perception. Across the skin, tiny sensory cells detect chemicals and vibrations, while the undersides of its arms bristle with hundreds of tube feet, hydraulic pistons powered by the water vascular system, a unique feature among echinoderms. Through this internal plumbing, seawater is drawn in and pressurized, giving the animal the strength to cling to rock or coral with astonishing grip. What appears soft and motionless is, in truth, a masterpiece of biomechanics, a hydraulic crawler capable of bending the laws of locomotion. The starfish's slow, deliberate movements belie its predatory nature. Beneath its body lies a mouth, a simple opening that conceals one of the strangest feeding strategies in the animal kingdom. When it encounters prey, a bivalve, a sponge, or a patch of coral polyps, the starfish arches over it and ever so slowly pries it open, using the suction power of its tube feet. Once the gap is wide enough, it performs a feat that borders on the grotesque. It extends its stomach outside its body, enveloping the prey and beginning digestion externally. Enzymes dissolve the soft tissues, and the nutrients are absorbed before the stomach retracts. It is a method of consumption perfectly suited to its sedentary world, slow, efficient, and absolute. Nothing escapes the patient chemistry of the starfish's hunger. Not all starfish live the same life or feed the same way, but across tropical and temperate seas, they share a singular ecological role. They are regulators of excess. On coral reefs, this role is both vital and double-edged. Certain species, such as the crown-of-thorns starfish, Acanthasta plancy, feed directly on live coral, particularly the fast-growing branching species that can dominate reefs if left unchecked. Each individual can consume several square meters of coral per year, moving across the reef like a living tide of demolition. In moderation, this feeding prevents monopolies of coral species, allowing slower-growing forms, massive brain corals, delicate fan corals, and crusting sponges to thrive alongside their faster competitors. By pruning the dominant corals, the starfish indirectly nurtures biodiversity. The reef's skyline, its ridges, valleys, and towers, remains balanced only because of the silent work of these echinoderm predators. Yet the same mechanism that sustains balance can, under the wrong circumstances, spiral into catastrophe. When environmental conditions shift, crown of thorns populations can explode into outbreaks, their numbers swelling from a few scattered individuals to thousands. They swarm across the reef in waves, stripping coral bare in their wake. These outbreaks are not random, they are symptoms of imbalance higher up the ecological chain. The larvae of crown of thorns starfish feed on plankton, and when agricultural runoff or warming waters trigger algal blooms, their survival rate skyrockets. Overfishing compounds the problem by removing natural predators such as the giant triton snail. In these moments, the regulator becomes the destroyer. Entire coral fields vanish beneath the tide of spines, leaving behind skeletons coated in algae and rubble. To understand the duality of the starfish's role is to understand the delicate mechanics of reef ecology itself. Coral reefs are systems built on paradox, competition and cooperation, construction and erosion, creation and decay. Growth without limit leads to collapse, while destruction, when measured, fuels renewal. The starfish embodies that tension. Its feeding clears space for new life. The crevices left by consumed coral become nurseries for fish and crustaceans, and the fine debris from its digestion feeds filter feeders downstream. Even after an outbreak, recovery often begins at the sites of former devastation. The bare substrate provides a blank slate for larval settlement, and the reef rebuilds itself upon its own ruins. Evolution has folded destruction into the rhythm of creation, and the starfish is the instrument that keeps time. Different species perform this role with varying degrees of precision. The cushion star, a plump, five-armed species common in the Caribbean, grazes across sponges and algae rather than coral, preventing these faster-growing organisms from overwhelming the reef. The blue starfish of the Indo-Pacific, with its vibrant azure hue, feeds on microscopic detritus, acting as a cleaner that recycles organic matter into the food web. Even deep-sea starfish, living thousands of meters below, play similar roles in their abyssal environments, consuming decaying matter and redistributing nutrients across the sediment. Their shapes may differ, some with 5 arms, others with 20, but their purpose remains consistent: to dismantle, digest, and redistribute, ensuring the continuity of life from one layer of the ecosystem to the next. Physiologically, the starfish's adaptations reflect this life of steady resilience. Lacking a central brain, it operates through a decentralized nerve net, each arm capable of independent motion and decision-making. This design grants redundancy. If one arm is lost, the others can continue functioning while regeneration begins. The process of regrowth, though slow, is extraordinary. A single severed arm, containing part of the central disc, can regenerate an entire new organism. This capacity is not mere accident, it is a biological strategy for persistence in a world of constant hazards. Predators such as triggerfish, pufferfish, and crabs often attack by breaking off limbs, yet the starfish's ability to regenerate ensures its survival. In evolutionary terms, it is built not to resist injury, but to recover from it, a philosophy of endurance written into its DNA. The starfish's nervous system, while simple in structure, is sophisticated in function. Each arm contains sensory organs at its tip, capable of detecting light and shadow, guiding the animal toward shelter or prey. Chemical receptors along its body allow it to taste the water, following the faint traces of decaying matter or coral mucus released by stressed polyps. This chemical navigation connects it intimately to the reef's health, responding to fluctuations invisible to the human eye. In a sense, the starfish acts as both participant and observer in the reef's metabolism, a mobile feedback mechanism that responds to surges in algal growth, coral stress, or organic decay. When viewed from the perspective of centuries, the impact of starfish activity becomes geological. Their grazing contributes to the slow weathering of reefs, converting calcium carbonate structures into fine sediment that settles across the sea floor. This sediment, compacted and cemented over time, forms the foundations of new reefs, the very rock upon which future generations of corals will build. In this way, the starfish's role transcends ecology and enters the realm of geology. It is not only a recycler of life, but a participant in the creation of the planet's physical landscape. Yet despite their endurance, starfish are far from invincible. Like many reef inhabitants, they are vulnerable to the creeping effects of climate change. Warmer waters accelerate coral bleaching, reducing the prey base for corallivorous species. Ocean acidification weakens their calcium carbonate skeletons, making them more susceptible to disease and physical damage. In recent years, mysterious wasting syndromes have decimated populations across the Pacific, dissolving their bodies into fragments within days. These outbreaks, likely linked to bacterial or viral pathogens intensified by environmental stress, reveal how fragile even the most ancient survival designs can be under rapid change. When the starfish disappear, the reef loses not only a predator but a sculptor. And without that subtle hand, the architecture begins to skew toward imbalance. In regions where conservation has restored stability, the results are visible. Controlled culling of crown-of-thorns starfish during outbreaks, combined with protection of their natural predators, allows coral cover to rebound. Within a decade, the scars of predation fade, replaced by new growth. Studies have shown that reefs with moderate stable starfish populations support higher diversity of coral species, more complex structure, and greater fish abundance than those entirely devoid of them. The evidence suggests that the health of the reef does not depend on eliminating predation, but on preserving its rhythm. Every ecosystem requires its dismantlers, those species that clear, recycle, and restrain to prevent stagnation. In the fading light of dusk, when the daytime fish retreat into coral crevices, the starfish emerge from their shelters to feed. Their movement is almost imperceptible, a silent tide of limbs advancing across the reef. As their tube feet glide over stone, the coral polyps retract, and the reef's brilliant colors dull into the muted palette of night. From above, the starfish's path appears faint, a constellation of shadowed outlines drifting over a luminous sea. Tomorrow, divers will find the subtle evidence of their work: patches of bare skeleton, grooves of eroded calcium, the beginnings of renewal. To the human eye, these creatures may seem alien, even destructive, but through the lens of ecology they reveal the blueprint of resilience. The reef does not thrive because it grows without interruption. It thrives because it is constantly edited, revised, and rebuilt by its inhabitants. The starfish is its quiet editor, patient, persistent, and impartial, ensuring that no part of the ocean skyline dominates for long. In every scrape and every consumed polyp lies the equilibrium of creation itself. The starfish is not simply a recycler of coral, it is the hand that keeps the living architecture of the sea in motion. In the calm shallows of the reef, where the water moves like glass and sunlight filters through in trembling ribbons, an animal shaped by patience and precision drifts among the coral branches. The seahorse, no larger than a finger, holds itself upright in the current, tail curled around a stem of seagrass. Its body sways with the rhythm of the tide, never fighting the movement, only matching it. Against the chaotic backdrop of darting fish and swarming plankton, the seahorse appears almost still, a living ornament in the reef's architecture. But beneath that stillness lies a lifetime of construction, both biological and ecological. It is an anchored builder, an engineer of intimacy and stability in a world defined by motion. A seahorse is a paradox of design. Its shape defies every rule of efficient swimming. It lacks scales, instead wearing a flexible exoskeleton of bony plates fitted together like medieval armor. Its head sits at a right angle to its body, its tail coils instead of fins, and its mouth, a long, narrow tube, opens and closes without teeth. By all appearances, it should be ill-equipped for survival in the sea's competitive arena. Yet this strange anatomy, sculpted through millions of years of evolution, serves a purpose more refined than speed or aggression. The seahorse is not built to chase or flee, but to endure, to hold its place when the current changes, to build when others abandon, and to sustain life where fragility reigns. Each body part contributes to that design. The prehensile tail, muscular and flexible, acts as both anchor and tool. It grips coral, sponge, or seagrass with a precision that rivals the grasp of a primate hand. During storms or shifting tides, it secures the animal to its chosen perch, preventing it from being swept away. When food passes within reach, the tail acts as a brace, allowing the seahorse to strike with accuracy. Its weapon is suction, a powerful vacuum generated by the rapid expansion of its tubular snout. The motion is so fast that it creates an audible click underwater as the seahorse inhales small crustaceans and plankton floating in the water. This feeding method, known as pivot feeding, allows it to capture prey within milliseconds, one of the fastest feeding movements in the animal kingdom. What seems like a delicate creature is, in truth, a specialist predator operating at microscopic scales of precision. Its upright posture is more than an oddity of shape. It is a stabilizing adaptation that minimizes drag and enhances camouflage among vertical structures like sea fans and branching coral. Along its body, thousands of tiny pigment cells called chromatophores can shift in tone, blending the seahorse with its surroundings. Some species can even grow skin filaments, mimicking the fronds of algae or the branches of coral. In the sargassum mats of the open ocean, the sargassum seahorse turns a perfect golden brown, vanishing among the drifting weeds. On tropical reefs, the pygmy seahorses of the genus Hippocampus bargibanti and Hippocampus deniz achieve camouflage so perfect that they were only discovered in the late 20th century, hidden in plain sight on Gorgonian fans. Each individual matches the texture, color, and even the polyps of its coral host, an evolutionary partnership so specific that the seahorse's survival depends on that single species of coral. But perhaps the most extraordinary architecture the seahorse constructs is not physical, but biological, a reproductive structure built into its own body. Unlike almost all other animals on Earth, it is the male who becomes pregnant. Along the underside of his abdomen lies a specialized brood pouch lined with blood vessels and tissue capable of nurturing embryos. During courtship, the male and female engage in a ritualized dance that can last for days. They twine their tails together, swaying in unison with the tide, changing color as hormones synchronize their readiness to mate. At the peak of the ritual, the female deposits her eggs into the male's pouch through a tubular ovipositor. There he fertilizes them and seals the entrance, transforming himself into a living incubator. Inside, the developing embryos receive oxygen and nutrients through a capillary network, much like the placenta of mammals, an evolutionary convergence of astonishing sophistication. The pregnancy can last from 2 to 4 weeks, depending on temperature and species. Within that time, the male's body regulates salinity within the pouch, gradually matching the seawater outside to prepare the young for release. When birth arrives, it is neither graceful nor quiet. The male contracts violently, expelling dozens to hundreds of fully formed miniature seahorses into the water column. Each one, barely the size of a grain of rice, drifts upward into the open sea, a journey fraught with danger. Only a tiny fraction will survive the gauntlet of predators to return, months later, to the same coastal nurseries as adults. And yet, this strategy ensures dispersal. Each newborn becomes a seed in the ocean's planktonic garden, spreading the species across vast distances. Through reproduction, the seahorse becomes a gardener of the sea, planting life where currents carry it. The devotion between mating pairs is equally remarkable. Many species of seahorses form long-term or even lifelong partnerships, greeting each other each morning with a ritual dance that reinforces their bond. This daily exchange, lasting mere minutes, ensures reproductive synchronization and strengthens pair fidelity. Biologists have observed that partners separated by environmental forces often cease breeding altogether, as though their physiological cycles depend on one another's presence. In this, the seahorse transcends simple reproductive efficiency. It embodies cooperation as a strategy for stability. In a world where survival often favors opportunism, this fidelity becomes a rare evolutionary choice, one that prioritizes precision and continuity over sheer reproductive volume. Beyond romance, their ecological impact is subtle but significant. By anchoring themselves to coral and seagrass, seahorses help stabilize delicate structures that might otherwise collapse under current or wave pressure. Their tails grip and release with measured tension, redistributing movement across the plant or coral they hold. In dense seagrass meadows, their presence indicates ecosystem health, a balance between shelter, food, and oxygen exchange. Where seahorses thrive, biodiversity follows. Their hunting grounds, filled with copepods, amphipods, and larval crustaceans, become feeding zones for small fish and shrimp, supporting a layered food web. Even their discarded fecal matter contributes to the nutrient cycle, enriching the sediment that fuels seagrass growth. The seahorse is not a builder in the traditional sense, but its life behaviors sustain the framework of the habitats it inhabits. This delicate architecture is easily broken. Across much of the world, seahorse populations have suffered dramatic declines. Habitat loss from coastal development, trawling, and pollution has devastated the seagrass beds and coral systems they depend on. Millions are caught annually for traditional medicine or as curiosities for the aquarium trade. Because of their low mobility and specific habitat preferences, seahorses cannot easily recolonize new areas once a population disappears. Their fidelity to place, once an advantage, becomes a vulnerability in a changing world. In some regions, such as parts of Southeast Asia, certain species have already vanished from waters where they were once abundant. Their absence is more than symbolic. Without these small architects, the biological fabric of seagrass ecosystems weakens, reducing the resilience of coastlines that depend on them for stabilization and carbon storage. In recent years, conservation efforts have begun to recognize their importance as ecological indicators. Marine protected areas that shelter seahorse habitats also protect countless other species, from juvenile fish to invertebrates. Projects in Australia, the Philippines, and the Caribbean have reintroduced captive-bred seahorses into restored seagrass meadows, with promising results. These efforts mirror the seahorse's own method of renewal, planting new life in vulnerable places and allowing it to take root naturally. The species' gentle presence, once seen as ornamental, now serves as a symbol of restoration. It is the embodiment of quiet engineering, the idea that strength lies not in domination, but in the persistence of structure through connection. Physiologically, the seahorse continues to reveal evolutionary marvels. Its eyes move independently, scanning for prey and predators with panoramic vision. Its bony plates not only provide protection, but also reduce sound reflection, a form of stealth against acoustic hunting predators. Its buoyancy is controlled by an internal gas bladder so precise that it can hover motionless in mid-water, adjusting micro volumes of gas to counteract the faintest current. Even its reproductive inversion, male pregnancy, has profound evolutionary implications, redistributing the metabolic cost of reproduction and freeing females to generate new eggs more rapidly. It is a design of balance, every trait contributing to a shared purpose, endurance through cooperation. In the soft twilight of the reef, a pair of seahorses dances again. Their tails entwine, spiraling upward as air bubbles drift from the surface light above. Around them, the coral sways gently, catching the refracted shimmer of their movement. They are not warriors, not builders in the human sense, but their design is a blueprint of stability written in motion. Through their courtship, they redistribute life. Through their anchoring, they stabilize fragility. Through their stillness, they define persistence in an environment ruled by change. The seahorse stands as one of evolution's quiet triumphs, proof that in the ocean's vast workshop, architecture is not always built of stone or coral. Sometimes it is built of trust, precision, and the subtle art of staying still. In the open blue above a coral reef, the water seems empty, a vast silence broken only by the hum of light. Then, from the haze, a shadow begins to take shape. It grows larger, darker, its edges curving like the wings of some deep-sea spirit. With a single slow beat, the manta ray emerges, moving not through the water, but with it. The ocean folds around its wings as if sculpted by its passage, the flow of water bending and twisting in luminous ribbons. Watching a manta is like watching the physics of the ocean made visible, a living embodiment of fluid dynamics, evolution's silent engineer of motion. The manta ray, one of the largest fishes on Earth, belongs to the same family as sharks, yet it could not be more different. Where sharks are defined by predation, the manta is a grazer of the invisible. Feeding not on flesh but on plankton, the drifting, microscopic foundation of the marine food web, It thrives by mastering abundance rather than aggression. Its mouth, wide and forward-facing, funnels thousands of liters of seawater every minute. Inside, rows of comb-like gill rakers strain out suspended life, copepods, larvae, and tiny crustaceans. Each pass through a plankton cloud becomes an act of filtration, a process so efficient that nearly 99% of particles within the target size range are captured. Yet feeding is only one outcome of this elegant choreography. With every glide, turn, and roll, the manta reshapes the very water it moves through, redistributing energy, oxygen, and nutrients, a living architect of ocean flow. From above, a manta's shape resembles a pair of dark crescents connected by a diamond. Its wingspan can reach more than 7 meters in oceanic species, yet it moves with a grace that belies its size. The secret lies in hydrodynamic design. Along each wing runs a system of flexible cartilaginous supports that channel water smoothly over the surface, minimizing turbulence. The wingtips curl upward, creating lift in both directions of the stroke, up and down, an efficiency mirrored only in the flight of birds and bats. But unlike any aerial creature, the manta operates in a denser medium, one that it manipulates through subtle changes in angle and amplitude. Each movement generates vortices that spiral off the wing edges, mixing layers of water and oxygenating the reef below. These swirling trails are invisible to the eye but measurable in their effect. Research using flow visualization has shown that mantas, through their continuous cruising, act as biological fans, enhancing local circulation and keeping reef waters oxygen-rich, a service critical to coral and fish alike. The manta's presence transforms not only the chemistry of the water, but its ecology. Plankton blooms, driven by tides and sunlight, can accumulate into dense clouds that choke light and suffocate corals if left unchecked. By feeding in these blooms, mantas help regulate the density of planktonic populations, preventing overgrowth and maintaining water clarity. Their feeding grounds often become oases of activity. Small fish gather beneath them to feed on escaping prey, while remoras attach to their bellies, scavenging leftovers. Even whale sharks and seabirds are drawn to the commotion, joining the feast. The manta's movements thus orchestrate a symphony of interspecies interaction, a cascade of feeding relationships radiating outward from a single slow beat of its wings. This role as a circulator of life extends across astonishing distances. Unlike reef fish that live within narrow ranges, oceanic mantas migrate hundreds, sometimes thousands of kilometers between feeding grounds. Their routes follow the invisible highways of current and temperature, tracking the movement of plankton through changing seasons. Each migration functions as an exchange of ecosystems, a transfer of nutrients and energy across biogeographical boundaries. When mantas feed in nutrient-rich upwellings and later visit coral reefs to be cleaned by smaller fish, they bring microscopic remnants of one ecosystem into another. In this way, they act as connectors between oceanic provinces, transporting the building blocks of productivity from open water to coastal life. Their intelligence matches their scale. Mantas possess the largest brain-to-body ratio of any fish, with well-developed regions dedicated to problem-solving, social interaction, and possibly self-awareness. Observations in the Maldives and Indonesia have documented behaviors suggesting social structure. Individuals recognizing one another, forming temporary feeding alliances, and even participating in what appear to be communal cleaning rituals. At cleaning stations, the mantas queue patiently, circling slowly as wrasses and cleaner fish pick parasites from their skin and gill slits. The scene resembles an underwater marketplace where species trade service for sustenance. The manta's cooperation and apparent patience hint at cognition beyond simple instinct, a kind of behavioral sophistication that challenges our assumptions about fish intelligence. Every aspect of their biology reflects adaptation to an environment defined by constant movement. Their skin, covered in a layer of mucus and microscopic dermal denticles, reduces drag and resists colonization by parasites. Their gill rakers are coated in mucus as well, preventing clogging during high-volume filtration. Even their eyes, set laterally on the head, are positioned for panoramic vision, allowing them to detect predators or companions from almost any angle. Beneath the skin, muscles specialized for endurance power their flight through the water. Unlike most fishes that rely on tail propulsion, mantas generate thrust primarily from their pectoral fins, an energy-efficient method that allows them to cruise for hours with minimal effort. They are warm-blooded relative to their environment, capable of maintaining higher body temperatures through constant motion, a rare trait among cartilaginous fishes that enhances metabolic efficiency in cooler waters. Yet motion defines more than their physiology. It is the essence of their ecological role. In nutrient-poor tropical seas, life depends on the recycling of materials between layers of the water column. Surface organisms capture energy from sunlight, die and sink into the depths, removing nutrients from the reach of photosynthesis. Upwelling currents eventually return some of this material, but the process is slow and irregular. Mantas accelerate it. By moving vertically through the water column, feeding near the surface, resting at mid-depth, and visiting cleaning stations near the reef, they continually mix stratified layers, reintroducing nutrients that might otherwise remain trapped. In this way, their migrations are not only horizontal journeys across space, but vertical ones through the ocean's architecture, sculpting flow in 3 dimensions. Even their reproduction mirrors the theme of motion. Courtship begins with a chase, a sequence of synchronized swimming known as a mating train. Dozens of males may follow a single female, matching her every twist and loop through the water. Only the most persistent suitor earns the chance to mate, a process that reinforces both strength and coordination. After gestation lasting over a year, the female gives birth to a single pup, large, fully developed, and ready to swim at birth. The newborn inherits not only its mother's form, but her migratory instincts, setting off into a life that will be defined by motion from its very first glide. Such low reproductive output makes manta populations vulnerable. Each individual lost represents years of growth and the potential for an entire lineage to vanish. Human interaction has added complexity to this delicate equation. Once hunted for their gill rakers, falsely believed to hold medicinal value, mantas now face their greatest threats from bycatch, habitat degradation, and boat strikes. Their slow reproductive rate and migratory habits make them difficult to protect through localized conservation. Yet they have become powerful ambassadors for marine awareness. In regions such as Raja Ampat and the Maldives, ecotourism centered around manta encounters has replaced hunting with stewardship, creating economic incentives to safeguard their habitats. Studies have shown that a single living manta can generate hundreds of thousands of dollars in tourism revenue over its lifetime, compared to a few hundred as a carcass. Through human fascination, their survival becomes intertwined with our own understanding of value, a testament to how perception can transform exploitation into preservation. But the true worth of the manta ray cannot be measured in currency. It lies in its unseen contributions, the currents it stirs, the plankton it balances, the oxygen it spreads. A single feeding aggregation, where dozens of mantas loop through the same circuit, can reshape the physical structure of the surrounding water. Instruments measuring dissolved gases and temperature show that areas frequented by mantas exhibit higher oxygenation and greater nutrient exchange than neighboring zones. Their movement literally aerates the sea. They are, in essence, living pumps that sustain the metabolic heartbeat of reefs and open waters alike. As twilight deepens and the reef fades into shadow, a group of mantas gathers at the edge of a channel. The water accelerates with the tide, carrying a cloud of plankton illuminated by shafts of fading light. One by one, the mantas rise into the current, mouths open, gliding in formation. They loop and roll in slow spirals, forming a vortex of motion that funnels food toward their waiting mouths. Above, the surface glitters with the last reflections of the sun. Below, their silhouettes pass like clouds through liquid air. Each movement is effortless, deliberate, continuous, a motion that has shaped the ocean for millions of years without pause. The manta ray does not build with stone or coral, yet its architecture endures. It constructs with flow, with movement, with the invisible geometry of water. Through its gliding, it sculpts circulation patterns that feed reefs, sustain plankton, and maintain the oxygen that countless organisms depend upon. Its blueprint is not drawn in lines, but in eddies and waves, an ever-changing design written by motion itself. In the architecture of the ocean, the manta ray is both artist and engineer, a creature whose every sweep of the wing sustains the living balance of the sea.